Hello, everybody, and welcome to the season finale of the inaugural 2K Cup iRacing Sunday League right here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Last time out, we went racing for 6 hours around the iconic Mount Panorama circuit. We head to another iconic racetrack today, Silverstone International Circuit. We return to our normal format, though, for the season. 2 splits, both with two 33-minute races each, all-comers and the main event, with some pretty big names making some appearances as well. As with the rest of the season, this should be an absolute cracker. Bringing you the coverage here on GSRC, myself, Ryan Jones. Alongside me in the booth is Adam Lingard. And behind the scenes is the director Sean Ambrose, using cameras made possible by Dougie Beard. There's live timing as well at GSRC.tv if you want to track where your favourite driver is in the field. Before we get into the action, let's take a look at this racetrack with our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Silverstone. Most famously known for being the first circuit to host a round of Formula One, this place has since become synonymous with British motorsports. Hosting everything from sports cars to touring cars to open wheels and even motorcycles, it's a track that fits a wide variety of vehicles. With 5 different layouts to choose from, you've got a little something for any level of racing. The longest of those layouts boasts 17 turns over more than 3 miles or 5 kilometers, so it can take a bit to get around it, even in higher-powered machinery. Its main characteristics are the long straights, swift corners, and general lack of elevation change. Its most famous set of turns is definitely the Maggots-Beckett sequence, in which anything with high downforce finds itself challenged with the rapid changes of direction. While there is a fair bit of paved runoff and quick corners like Copse and Stowe, the time lost from going off can be costly. There's a few turns with opportunities for overtaking, including Vale, Abbey, and Priory, but in cars with less horsepower, expect the slipstream to be where many attempt to get by. The Hangar Straight is perhaps the most notorious for draft battles to erupt. All in all, this versatile racetrack located just northwest of London provides both history in its roots and action on the tarmac. The huge number of British fans that typically attend events are seldom left wanting.
So cars make their way onto the track for qualifying and bring Adam Lingard into the conversation here. Tell us a bit more about this airport-based racetrack and running the older version of the circuit, aren't we, Adam?
Yeah, we definitely are, Ryan. With Formula One just closing a deal to have 2 races at Silverstone this season, it's fitting that the 2K Cup Series would finish at this historic track. Many of you are familiar with Silverstone's current layout, but the one these racers are driving on today is the pre-2010 layout, which takes a left at Abbey under the bridge and has the start-finish straight coming through at Woodcote. This pre-leveled 5.14 kilometer, 3.194 mile, 17-turn circuit is much bumpier than the modern layout, but with the relatively pliable suspension of the MX5s, these drivers shouldn't be too thrown off by the lumps. This layout does steal away the Wellington Straight, one of the best passing zones for a draft-happy car like the MX5s, so expect these drivers who can tackle the technical sections to be the best in the field in tonight's season finale, Ryan.
Most certainly, and none of this possible without our sponsors, either Storite Logistics, who have been on board this whole season, so too Cream Insurance and IQ Security as well, all jumping on board throughout the season to help bring you the racing and the action live on your screens all season long. Here on the Global SimRacing Channel, our race details for tonight. Here's our format, Adam.
Yeah, definitely. And we're going to take a look at the driver standings very shortly here as well. But the race details are also brought to you by StoreRight. And this is round 8 of 8 for these drivers. This is the final round for them. It's going to be that 2-race format that you talked about, 33 minutes each for each of them. Setups in this series are fixed, so these drivers dealing with a little bit of a loose car today, I've been noticing. Incidents are capped at 30, which is an immediate disqualification. And around this track, with the way that the MX5 is driving tonight, we might see some of these guys get up there. And they also have double points tonight, so as we take a look at those driver standings, things are going to get a little bit tight here, Ryan.
Yeah, of course, Joe's driver standings not as relevant now because they are all in the main event. This is the all-comers event at the moment, so maybe we'll take a little bit of a close look at that later on in the broadcast. But these drivers out there now, they have a chance to get into that main event. This first race is going to be all about building some momentum. And then that second race, which is an inverted top 10 from the results here in race 1. Top 3 at the end of that will go through to the main event straight after this, which will carry the same format as the all-comers split. So plenty of pride on the line for these drivers out there at the moment. And qualifying, only got a few times on the board. It's such a long lap around here. They've got 15 minutes to put down some lap times. 2 minutes 12.3, currently our fastest lap from Bramwell King. Benjamin Adams will come across the line, and not a representative lap from him. Unfortunately, it looks like he's got an off-track. Off-tracks, Adam, very easy to pick up on this racetrack.
Yeah, and that goes into those 30 incidents that we were just talking about in those race details that can not only knock away a qualifying time, but it can also disqualify you from the race once you get into it. It's also awesome to see this series taking up the open qualifying method here, where we have all the drivers on the track at the same time, but that's creating some complications for some of these drivers in trying to set a fast time. And like you said, this is their opportunity to get into that feature race and qualify into that top split. So these drivers that are all bunched up might be having a little bit of trouble setting a fast time.
Some complications, some potential help as well. If you set yourself up in the right spot, see how these guys are heading down in the main straight, maybe in a good position to get a very good slipstream around this racetrack. Maybe not get close enough to get held up. Ideally, you line yourself up behind someone really fast and they'll tow you along the track and you should gain a few tenths of a second. David Robothem finds a couple of hundredths of a second. He'll stay 5th. 3/4 of a second off of King, who's got a pretty handy margin up at the top. 3/10 back per second, half a second over the rest. Will Kitching, we've seen him in and amongst the action all season long. Props up to 14th after his first attempt.
And then we got a group of 3 right here. This is James Parkinson, Graham Wallace, and Nicholas Lance. And Nicholas is doing an interesting job trying to get past these guys. Here's Greg Hurst trying to make it through as well. He's only got 20th on the board right now, but a lot of these drivers really starting to deal with a little bit of traffic out here. Bramwell King's in the best position as far as being out there alone on track with a little bit of a draft ahead of him. Here's Zeal Jones with a decent gap to the car ahead, trying to make up a little bit of time as well.
Not a good lap for him, unfortunately. Jonathan Turner again is trying to find something. So the issue of this place is if you make a mistake, you've got to wait so long to have another crack. It is 5 kilometers long, which is up there with some of the longer tracks we have in Australia and New Zealand. Bathurst, of course, sitting at 6.2 kilometers in length. Michael Ferguson, currently 11th for him. Why don't we go on board for a lap with one of these drivers in a second here and take a look at some more of this racetrack. Kyle Gaines looks like he's gearing up to begin a lap here. Currently hasn't set a time. He's setting one now. Looks like it's going to be in and around that pretty decent range as he comes across just after the final corner. 2:13.9 puts him nowhere, unfortunately. He's picked up an off-track.
Yeah, and unfortunately that off-track's going to mean that he does not set a time, and they're running out of time here. We're just under 6 minutes to go, and with these drivers doing 2:12s, that means it's about 3 more opportunities for a lap for most of these drivers. We're going to jump on board with Mark Mallard as he goes around here, and you would expect a airport-based track to be without a lot of elevation gain, but surprisingly, there is a surprising amount of ups and downs around here.
Yeah, most notably, up at the end here, you rise up into the right-hander, which offers up a very good overtaking opportunity. This place, the hanger straight. Drivers are able to pull a slipstream out of Maggots and Beckett's in Chapel, and then up here they can jump to the inside on the brakes and try to make it stick outside Cabrera every now and then, especially with the chicane that comes up in a moment.
And actually just behind Mallard is Nathan Anderson. He's on a decent lap himself. And Mallard coming out of that corner here, this is a very It's very interesting to watch the MX-5s drive this course because of their front-wheel drive. It's really hard for them to pull speed out of these corners, so it makes it very challenging for them to try and get good exit speed out of these corners without getting a little bit of power steer coming out, which makes them push wide. So here he goes underneath the bridge. This is where you get a lot of compression coming through this right-hander here, which then sets him up for the final couple of corners. You really feel that in the car as you go through, even in a car like the MX-5.
Ooh, that's a mistake though. That'll be an off track as well. Just oversteered through the corner. Too far across the curb on the inside means his lap most likely not going to count here, which is a big shame for that Cream Insurance Mazda MX-5. He'll have to try again with just under 4 minutes on the clock. It's tightened up a bit at the top. Gardner has brought it down to within a tenth of King. The rest of the field's closed up too. Half a second back is now ninth as opposed to third. And there is Bramwell.
Yeah, Bramwell already had an off track on this lap, so he's now just going to have to set up and try and get one more lap in. With 3:30 to go, he has that time to do so. We're taking a look at Andrew Altman, who has not set a time here in that Storm Rides machine. So he's still trying to get a time in. We currently have 29 drivers who have set times out of the field of just over 30 now. And so it's going to be interesting to see whether or not he can get that time in before we hit that 0 marker on the clock.
Not going to be that many laps either for these drivers. Only about 15 laps in these races, which means you don't get many opportunities to have a go at your favorite overtaking spot, as opposed to some of the shorter tracks on the iRacing service. So that's another reason you want to qualify up the order at a place like this where it's so long. Graham Wallace, not a great lap for him, made a mistake somewhere, carrying damage as well. Anthony Howard, this could be an improvement for him. It should be. He's currently 29th. He's going to improve by a couple seconds. 2:15.213 will move him up to 26th place on the grid. Gardner, he's off the pace there. He's made a mistake somewhere on the racetrack. 3 seconds off.
Yeah, and these cars in this current fixed setup are extremely loose based upon what we're looking at here. And one of the things we haven't talked about in this qualifying session is the weather. As we're taking a look at Benjamin Adams going around, it is currently 34 degrees Celsius on track, 94 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's actually quite toasty for these MX-5s. So actually, if it gets any cooler, it might even get looser for these drivers. So they're going to want to make sure to try and hope that the cloud cover doesn't get too bad here at Silverstone. But when you're over in central England, that can be a lot to wish for.
There's cloud cover over the circuit at the moment, isn't there? Might help some of these drivers putting in late lap times, as the track might just find a little bit extra grip in certain places. Kyle Gaines didn't improve on his time. Mark Mallard, 3/10 off. He won't have enough time left to complete that lap. Wait, yes he will. We'll have the checkered flag will fly. These drivers will get to complete the lap they're beginning now before that checkered flag comes out. Paul Tahiwi improves by 1.7 seconds. Stay 31st. Cam James can't find an improvement, unfortunately.
Yeah, one of the things that we haven't talked about yet is how much track position. I mean, you did mention how it's only going to be about 15 laps in these races, so track position is going to be very important here. So these qualifying times are nothing to sneeze at, and especially placing well in those first races is going to be very important as well, to try and set yourself up in the best position for that feature race. But then you also have the inverted feature race, which is going to make things very interesting. So there might be a little bit of strategy coming into that in these heats.
Remember, the top 10 in qualifying reverted for race 1 as well here. So even though King's fast, he's going to have to be starting from 10th, which spices it up as it always does in the 2K Cup, which is why we love it, because there's so much fun and excitement. Greg Hurst, 6th place. Neil Gardner going to abandon his qualifying session. Paul Greeny, 27th at the moment. Going to come across the line, taking as little of the racetrack as possible. 2:15.4. He's just a few tenths off his previous best. Still 10 seconds left on the clock. Here, Bramwell King can make it to the line before the checkered flag flies, because this is not a good lap.
No, I won't make it.
Across, checkered flag's out. He does not make it. And that is it for qualifying. So this is how they will line up here at Silverstone for race 1 of the evening. On pole position after qualifying 10th, Elliot Andrew. Sam Thompson will start alongside him with Murray Brook and Thomas Harrison on row 2. Greg Hurst and Paul Stubbs occupy the third row of the grid ahead of David Robertham and Craig Brock. Neil Gardner, Bramwell King, they'll start off the 5th row.
Then we have Jordan Michaels and Dan Patrick in the 6th row, with Zeal Jones and Nathan Anderson in the 7th row. Then we have Nicholas Lowndes, Michael Ferguson, Matthew O'Gorman, and Carl Gaines. And then Jonathan Turner and Mark Mallard round out that top 20 for you.
21st off the starting grid here will be Peter Honeybelt, Cam James next to him, Benjamin Adams and Will Kitching, Graham Wallace, Marcus Little, Paul Greeny, Anthony Howard, James Parkinson, and Andrew Altman are your top 30 here. You can see the rest of the drivers on your screen as they scroll by. We've not got long before we get that green flag. The red lights come on, the drivers will get ready to launch off the line. Hear it. What is a very tricky start for some of these guys around the corner, which can make things difficult if there's a crash or someone stalls somewhere towards the front.
Yeah, it's definitely going to slow them down, especially having to go around that corner. Those on the outside are going to be a little bit disadvantaged here, but then we get to the first corner and things swap over a little bit. Those on the inside will be disadvantaged going through that first turn, so things interesting here. Here we go.
So a very good start from your second place man. Sam Thompson around the outside will take that lead away down into turn number 1. Elliot Andrew will have to slot in behind him. Murray Brook hangs on to third ahead of Harrison and Hurst. Bramwell King is already up quite a few spots after starting from 10th, up into 6th place.
Nathan Anderson had a problem in the backfield. He's now off. We have Craig Brock and Zeal Jones who are side by side going through the couple of corners there. But like you said, Sam Thompson off to a decent start with Elliot Andrew behind him. Thomas Harrison now passing Murray Brook as Murray went extremely wide there. And now it's almost side by side for the lead.
Andrew gets to what's going to be the inside of Sam Thompson coming out of Chapel. He's got the right side of the racetrack for the next corner at the end of this hangar straight. And he clears him, while Thompson try to dive back to his inside. He won't. They jump on the brake pedal. And he takes the lead back away, does Andrew then. See if Thompson can fight back as this one continues. King now up into 5th place after that mistake from Brook. Dropped him a few spots. Greg Hurst is going to look up the inside of Thomas Harrison, down at the chicane on the brakes. Doesn't quite pull it up. He clips the grass, 4 tyres on the grass, and he loses out the spot. And now Bramwell King going to try to sweep around his outside.
King's going to be able to close that off and make that work, but look at this. Thomas Harrison up ahead of him is actually trying to give the draft to Greg Hurst instead, so Bramwell King's going to have to pull up in front, and this draft is going to start to become more and more effective as these drivers get up to speed, but the gap between Thomas Harrison in the 3rd position and Sam Thompson up ahead of him is now 1.5 seconds, so they're a little bit out of the draft now, Ryan.
They have done a good job. Oh, there's a crash in the back under the bridge. Someone got fired off into the fence on the left-hand side.
That's O'Gorman. Matthew O'Gorman in the 808 car.
And there he is, being damaged to the front of that machine. Take a look at your replay here. Ooh, he looks like he got hit from behind. Maybe swinging to the right and then overcorrected back to the left potentially.
And that's just the looseness of these cars, as well as getting a little bit of contact from behind. That doesn't help either. So as we jump back on up to the lead, this is Elliot Andrew, and we're looking at Sam Thompson, who's chasing him about half a second behind. Then it's almost 2 seconds back to Bramwell King in 3rd.
Thompson there looking into Maggots. Decides not. Pretty close from 3rd on back. Thomas Harrison especially so in 4th, with a lot of pressure from Murray Brook, Greg Hurst, and Jordan Mitchell's. Hurst almost into the back of Brook through Chapel now as they come out onto the hangar straight.
Nicholas Lowndes and I believe that was Craig Brock just got together coming through the last couple of corners. Nicholas Lowndes now way off track and with major right side damage.
Another replay coming up for you now. You see Lowndes there, hit from behind. And then into Chapel they come. Hip check, and he 2 wheels up in the air, in fact, as he spun. Spins down, everyone else avoids him, but he will lose a bunch of spots now, unfortunately, as a result of that. So you come back to your live pictures. They're 2x2. Murray Brook getting passed by Greg Hurst as Jordan Mitchells tries to go by Craig Brock, who pulls the switchback on him through the chicane. Now he's on the outside of the racetrack as they sweep around towards the final sector of the racetrack. Brock not able to complete that move. Mitchells picks the spot up, and now he's going to have a look at Murray Brook on the brakes from a long way back. He gets up the inside. Can he pull it up, though? Left plenty of room by Brook, who will have the momentum, but this is really checking them up. Brock now going to have to give him a shot. Thinks about 3 wide, takes him 3 wide under the bridge, backs out of it, and going to lose out to David Robotham now.
Robotham's on a charge. He's got a lot of speed right now, but all these drivers trying to keep that rear end underneath them as they use all the power coming out of those front tires. That was 3 wide into the corner. Contact between Brock and Robotham, and now they're around Mitchells as well with contact. That was a big man.
Robotham did a very good job to get off the racetrack very quickly there with a whole host of cars coming his way. Take a look at another angle of it here as, oh no, Brock's been turned off into the fence by Peter Hannibal as well, so maybe we'll stay on board with this replay of Brock here. That's Robotham getting out of the way down on the inside, and then Brock. There's Hannibal, the green, bright green car on his outside as they come through the final corner. And then as they come out, they just come into contact and fight off into the fence.
And stay with Honeywell because he actually crosses the track here and makes more contact with, I believe that was once again... I would think Marcus Little's also wrecked in this.
Look, Craig Brock ran into someone as well, trying to get into pit road. So some pretty messy shenanigans there as we come back to your live pictures back at the front of the field.
I can report that Michael Ferguson had his own incident by himself, so he's now looking like with major damage. So here we are back to the lead. This is Elliot Andrew over Sam Thompson, but third is closed up quite a bit. They're now under a second, so they're down to 0.8 of a second for that third spot. But Greg Hurst now is 1.5 behind, and wow, third is closing very quickly on Sam Thompson.
That is Bramwell King, who was your fastest man in qualifying, so no surprise to see him closing up the way he is. But if he can get by, going to be a whole nother story for them. Because as we know, catching, passing are 2 very different things in motorsport and sim racing alike. Throw the back of the field, the battle for P9, P10. Neil Gardner under a lot of pressure from Dan Patrick for 10th spot. Just behind that bright purple car, which is Paul Stubbs.
Yeah, Dan Patrick is trying to size up Gardner for sure. He took a very conservative line. And here we go underneath the bridge. He's going to think about taking the right side, but that right side pass can be very dangerous. He usually come together with the other car. Oh, there's a spin up ahead of him. That's Jordan Michaels. We've seen him get into trouble before, but he's off track now and safely doing so. So Dan Patrick still free to chase down Neil Gardner.
You saw from that onboard shot that Patrick was carrying damage as well on a big track like this with a lot of high speed corners and straights. That does really affect you. Affects the aero washing over the car, affects what little downforce you already have to work with in these MX5 cars. So he'll be hurting from that, unfortunately. And there's no pit stops in these races either, so won't have a chance to come down and get it repaired without losing an absolute ton of time, up to the extent of probably half a lap, having a trundle down the pit lane as someone almost spun behind. That was a little bit close. Gardner shows a nose, trying to force a mistake from Stubbs, but Stubbs not worried about him at all. He's still about 5 car lengths back.
Oh no, Stubbs!
Oh no, he's sideways and he spins. Can he keep it off the fence? He's gassed it up. He's still wheeling it. And he ends up in the runoff. Avoided everything, but rear end just completely offloaded on him.
Yeah, and this is just how loose it is, and here they go through Meggins and Beckins, and this is where things get really complicated because that rear end is trying to come out from under the car, and he just can't get it turned back to the right. He can't switch that momentum back, goes off track, is able to recover just barely before hitting the outside wall. Thank goodness that pavement was there, otherwise he was a goner.
Well, you can see the car in front of him, the back end was stepping out as well, but that's the attitude of the cars going through that corner. Unfortunately for Stubbs, just stepped out a little bit too much, and he now finds himself back in about fringes the top 20, just outside, in fact. Look at this, though. Elliot Andrews got Bramwell King behind him, so Thompson's been passed. And King is up into second, and he is looking hungry to take the race lead away. Remember, if he wins this race, he will be starting from 10th for the feature. He switches to the back bumper, to the inside now. The gap is very quickly closing. He threw it up there, and Andrew was up for the challenge. He was committed around the outside and fends him off. This brings Sam Thompson and Greg Hurst right into the picture now. A four-way scrap for your race lead. About 5 seconds out in front of Harrison and Brooke, who are battling for 5th behind, as we make our way back onto the main straight to hit lap 5 of approximately 15. That lap counter on your top left, remember, it's based off race time, not distance. That's an estimation.
Bramwell able to get to the outside. Elliot Andrews stuck on the inside here. He's going to have the shallower line, but Bramwell worried about Andrew pushing out wide, so he's actually going to try the over-under here, but that's going to bring Sam Thompson back into it. But look at this. Andrew covering off Bramwell King, almost forcing him off track. Bramwell really having to work really hard to try and get a pass done here on Andrew. Andrew defending with all his might right now. And remember, Greg Hurst was 1.5 seconds back. He's now within a second of the leader.
King started from 10th, Andrew from the pole, Sam Thompson from 2nd, Hurst has climbed from 5th, but he's only 4th at the moment, so these guys that are racing with King at the moment have benefited from the reverse top 10. They're showing some pretty good pace out here ahead of the rest of the field. So they'll be looking to capitalise up as much as they can as Andrew defends up into the corner. He might have gone too deep though, he was struggling to pull it up. He meets the apex beautifully and manages to recover from it, but I think that was a slight mistake that just happened to work out that time around. So definitely feeling the pressure is that number 06 car at the head of the field, ahead of the iconic throwback livery behind the number 11. And Hurst is all over the back of Sam Thompson as well. I think Thompson might be under pressure of losing a spot here.
Yeah, Thompson got a bad exit out of that last corner, so Greg Hurst with a great run. But we've been watching, and Elliot Andrew really working hard to break the draft of Bramwell King. Sam is trying to do the same thing with Greg Hurst. So, oh boy, look at that. The two are getting together here. Looks like Bramwell trying to get the inside as they go into the bridge. He's going to think better of it here, as the bridge is a very sharp corner for these MX5s. So he backs out of it, but Elliot Andrew doing everything he can to keep Bramwell King behind him. Bramwell sticking his nose in whenever he has an opportunity. This could end one of two ways, and one of them is going to be bad for both cars.
As they battle, the gap to 5th starts to shut down. Harrison just 3.6 seconds off your race lead now. Only 2.3 off the final car in this train. Onto the main straight. Andrew defending because King's got the run. He toes all the way down to the inside fence to cover him off. Doesn't want to give him the inside for turn 1, but King's going to try to switch back and get an overlap on him on the exit of the corner. So run down to the famous Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel section now. He can't quite get the overlap. Andrew is defending for his life at the moment. This is a fantastic scrap for your race lead here in race 1 of the all-comers split, the 2K Cup Sunday League here on the Global SimRacing Channel. And what a way to finish off our season. It is shaping up already to be an absolutely cracking finale.
Yeah, Bramwell can't get past him soon. He's going to have to try and lure Andrew into a false sense of security by backing off these moves. But look at how close they're getting here. Here we go. Bramwell King going to the outside. Does he have enough of a run? He's going to try and chuck it up the outside here. Elliot Andrew trying to hold strong on the apex at the corner. He's able to do so, but is he able to clear him? Yes, he is. He's going to cut off Bramwell King's line. Fantastic driving from Andrew to hold on to that position. Bramwell King going to try and do the over-under here into the braking zone, but behind them, Greg Hurst dives deep and makes contact with Bramwell. That's going to send them around.
Hits him again for good measure, and King spins to the inside, and he will be steaming about that. He falls back now to 7th place. He's got 2 cars right in front of him to get back in the top 5, but he's now about 7 seconds off your race lead, and it was just too deep on the brakes from Hurst into that corner. Tried to make the move on Thompson and cleans up King, who had no fault in that. And there's contact in front of him, which he manages to avoid. That was Brooke getting turned.
Yeah, that was Brooke getting turned by Zeal Jones up ahead of him, and so this was right in front of Bramwell King, a very similar incident to what we just saw.
He must have missed something there, because that car was not pulling up any day of the week, and Brooke would not have been seeing that at or he would have been focused on the exit of the corner by that point. It's a big misjudgment on his part there, as King is now sweeping around the outside of Jones to take away that 5th spot. He now occupies it. There he is, 5th, 6th, 7th on the track. Jones and Gardner lined up behind, but SA is going to be able to gap these guys pretty quickly here. If Zeal doesn't have a lunge back up the inside, which he does, it forces King to leave the door ajar, makes him run wide off the exit of turn number 1. He's losing a bunch of time out there. He rejoins side by side with Jones, who's going to try to commit here through Maggot. Still side by side, he backs out of it.
These guys are going all out here. Zeal Jones trying to stick it up the inside, but Bramwell King covers him off there. Neil Gardner looking on of all this, trying to get a good run here, but here we go onto the longest straight they have in this race. Let's see how Bramwell King is able to defend from Zeal Jones and whether Neil Gardner can get a run right in behind them. And this has also brought Carl Gaines into the picture just behind them as well, and he's followed closely by Dan Patrick. Neil Gardner's got the run though. Where's he going to take it?
Takes to the outside after Jones goes to the inside in both an active offense and attack. Very tricky spot to be when you're in the middle of 3 cars, a fast car behind, a slower car in front. But I still stand by. I think King's got the pace over them if he could just recover here. That's a big lunge from Jones, and almost for the second time in 2 laps, King has turned at that corner. This time he sees it, is able to open up the steering angle and run himself a bit wider at the apex to avoid contact, but he was very fortunate there. And he's probably a bit rattled at the moment. He's not quite recovering the pace he was showing before the contact, because Jones is going to have another look here up the inside.
And to be honest, King has some significant right side damage that's probably affecting his drive on the right front tire. So here we go, Gardner on the inside here through the tunnel turn. He's gonna have to back it up. This allowed Carl Gaines to get possibly to the inside. A little bit of contact between the two of them. Gardner pushed a little bit wide here, but Gaines unable to make gains here on Gardner, with Dan Patrick now in the picture as well, with Zeal Jones still fighting with Bramwell King up ahead.
You had to go there.
Every day of the week.
Yeah, Dan Patrick loving what he's seeing in front of him. Lots of battling, lots of opportunity for him to potentially pick up some free spots.
It looks like King got a bad exit there. Zeal Jones with a great run.
They're now about 9 seconds off your race lead. 10.3 seconds, sorry. It's opened up even over the last lap by over a second and a half. So they're losing absolute chunks. And I think you're right. King is definitely struggling now from the damage. I think it was the second hit. It's flush into his driver's side door that's affected the car. Because the initial one was pretty conspicuous to the left rear. Just enough to tag him around. But he got hit again as he spun. And that might be what's doing the damage, as Jones is as aggressive as you ever want to be here.
Yeah, that move was never going to work there at that particular moment. He thought maybe King would be kind and give it to him, but King nothing doing. But King very wide on the exit of the corner, but Gardner's got to run here. Is Jones going to be able to see him? Jones is going to have to go to the inside here. This is going to block off Gardner because of King. So Jones to the inside of the corner. King is going to actually let him go through here. Let's see whether he does the over-under. Here we go. Jones trying to block off that inside line, unable to do so. King is there, but now it's going to swap over to the outside for the next corner. Gardner looking on.
Jones was a bit too deep in the corner there. He had to stay on the brakes for a bit longer than he wanted, which actually worked in his favour as it checked him up in the middle of the corner, prevented King from performing that crossover move. Bit of a block pass, if you will. And now, here comes King with the momentum back at him on the outside of the next corner, but if he can stay there, he'll have the inside under the bridge, which should work out nicely for him. He'll have to be very deep on the brakes here. They're about even, in fact. Jones to the inside will prevail. King again, working over the back bumper of that car. Gets a run, gets to the inside, to the door-to-door again. Under the bridge they go, and flashing the brakes to keep the car glued to the curb. And King not able to fight a way back ahead of Zeal Jones. This is a fantastic scrap for P5. Now he gets to the inside. There's a bit of contact. Pushes Jones a bit wide. King gets up there on the wrong side of the track for the final corner. Look at them all close in behind. Gardner, Gaines, and Patrick now right there with these two, as Jones again able to clear him off the exit.
Forcing him a little bit off track there, but Bramwell King right in the slipstream. Here comes Jones trying to cover off that inside. King's going to look to the outside. Gardner trying to pick his lane, where he's going to go here. Everyone's weaving down the stretch here as they try and figure it out. Here comes Carl Gaines from behind. He's going to get to the inside of Gardner and challenge for that 7th spot.
Oh, there's going to be contact in a straight line between them. They become unhooked, thankfully for that. Gardner was milliseconds from disaster, and now he gets hit by Gaines, and he spins out to one of the other variations of the circuit. It's not where you want to be going on the Grand Prix layout of this track. He rejoins, but here's a look. Gaines closed right in and right up to the back bumper. I wonder if it was a bit of a...
Yeah, I'm with you, Jonesy. I think that it's very much one of those, I didn't appreciate what you did on this move over here on the straight line. Look at that, the contact. And then we're going to see it right back here where Gaines just kind of,
gained a lot.
Yes.
I have the mental age of a 2-year-old, apparently.
Well, someone who is wishing that they were a little bit sprier is Greg Hurst, who's trying to hold off Thomas Harrison here as they're very, very close as they go through the corners.
Oh, behind them. Go behind them, because King's just been offloaded by Carl Gaines. And they've both lost a spot to Dan Patrick. We'll see if we can queue up a replay here. It was just into the corner they've just gone past. We have got it up. Sean Ambrose behind the scenes doing a wonderful job on that replay button today. Here it is. Misjudges it, hits the grass, which unsettles him. And unfortunately, King, not the first time today, wrong time, or wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, and King's just not going to have any car left by the time this race is over if he keeps getting beat up like this. He's got significant right side damage, significant rear end damage. That thing has got to be driving horrible at this point.
Take a breath for a second. It's been action-packed, this race, hasn't it? Man, we got 3 more to go, Adam.
It's been a great race so far in this first round. These guys are doing an excellent job, and it's awesome to see them fighting this hard.
What is it where you are? 3 a.m. now?
Oh no, I'm on the West Coast, so it's only 11:30. So I'm still spry and happy.
And you're glad you're up late, though, because this is some of the best racing we've seen in a while. Even for this series of standards, this is quite good. They've spread out just a touch now after that contact. And we'll check in on the race leader for now, give him some more time. Up there, that's Elliot Andrew carrying a, looks like a Sauber F1 livery. Or, sorry, Alfa Romeo Sauber F1 livery.
Yeah, doing a good job hanging out 1.5 seconds ahead of Sam Thompson in second place, so he's holding that lead well. But Sam, because of the way that these cars work, Sam is still within a little bit of the drafting distance of Andrew. So if Andrew can't be better than him through the twisty bits, Sam's going to be able to catch and possibly challenge for that lead once again. But remember, I mean, it's a 33-minute race, and I haven't even been paying attention, but we're already 2/3 of the way through.
Indeed, we are going by extremely quickly. Now it starts to close up for P5 again, and just like that, the snake reforms itself behind Jones as Patrick occupies 6 and Bramwell King drifts his way around the corner after getting attacked from Gaines and gets hit by him. And for the 3rd time today, Bramwell King is sideways on the racetrack, and again, he did nothing wrong. This time, he's going to lose about half a dozen spots, maybe more. He slots back into 14th place now.
And this is Carl Gaines getting deep on the corner again here.
What has he got to do?
I don't know.
Get a break?
Fortunately, he didn't get hit by any of the other cars there. But
yeah. Good news, so he's 14th. If he gains 4 spots, he starts on pole 15th. Gains 5 spots, he starts on pole for race 2. That's the race that matters. That's the race that books your spot in the main event. So there is still hope for Mr. Bramwell King. P5, though, will go back there again because now Dan Patrick, after going from the back of the train before it all kicked off, now occupies 6th and is starting to apply the blowtorch and heat up the rear bumper of Zeal Jones.
Yeah, these guys are 17 seconds back of the lead, so they're not really going to be able to challenge that with 9.5 minutes to go. So each of these positions is going to be precious for these guys. So Dan Patrick's going to have to find his way past Zeal Jones in order to try and move himself up a little bit, or he could hang out here and maybe think a little bit about some strategy plays. But here we go, P7 as well. Carl Gaines being caught by Nicholas Lowndes.
If these guys start battling, it'll draw Nathan Anderson into the fight as well. He's just about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds behind these guys, circling by himself at the moment. So he'll be hoping that this continues in front of him, because he's the next car to capitalize on this almighty scrap for top 5. In fact, he might not want to, because he's looking at the front row start if things stay the way they are. One of the beauties of this inverted format we get for the second event, we see a lot of foxing sometimes. We've seen it over the course of the season. Even heard from the likes of Van Gisbergen that they want to finish 10th because they want that pole for the second race. And these all-comers will be very aware of that as well. They've had exactly the same format all season long.
And speaking of 10th, Ryan, that's Murray Brook, who's currently holding that position. He's only 1.2 seconds behind Nathan Anderson up ahead of him. So Murray Brook currently holding that position, but look at the train he's got behind him. Graham Wallace, Neil Gardner, Paul Stubbs, all tucked in behind him, less than a second. So these guys are going to be trying to get up there and claw their way, the only way they can, into that feature.
Here we go. Patrick's going to have a look at Jones. The gap rapidly shut, and the brakes quickly came on for Patrick there. Turn 1's one of those inviting corners, because out of the final corner, you get quite a long run along the, well, what is actually the final corner, which is a flat-out run into the main straight. And into turn 1, it gives the car behind a big burst of speed, and the inside can look so appealing, but turn 1 is not a corner where you want to go side by side.
Not at all, and it's pretty much every Formula One race where we see somebody try and make that move, and the person on the outside ends up in the tire barriers or in the gravel. And we see it no matter what series you're running, no matter where you're driving, you don't want to try and go side by side through turn 1. But Nicholas Lowndes actually behind is trying to make a move on Carl Gaines, who takes it deep into the corner. So wow, all these positions really starting to swap over, as well as the lead, which is starting to close as well.
Give you an update. Elliot Andrew, a 2:13.5 last time by, 2:14 flat, 2:13.3 his other 2 laps before that. For Sam Thompson, 4 tenths quicker, 7 tenths quicker, 2 tenths quicker. And now he is on his back bumper.
Wow, he is very, very close in behind Sam Thompson, definitely within that draft range. Elliot Andrew, he's been very defensive all day and very good at it. Let's see whether or not he can hold off a newcomer. Now take a look at their different lines as they go through these corners, Ryan. Sam Thompson definitely trying to be a little bit more conservative on those tires. Elliot Andrew, let's see whether or not he tries to break the draft as they go down this front straight here. This is going to be very interesting to see how they take these corners.
It is, and even though they are very low downforce and the likes, you still get a little bit of a handling effect tucked right up behind someone too. So that's also something to consider. They're still punching a hole in the air. They're still doing 150 kilometers an hour through turn 1, so not quite the level of Formula 1 aero effect, thank goodness, but still there, still exists.
And here's the other interesting bit. They're actually catching up to lap traffic now. This is Anthony Howard that we're going to see appear on the right side of your screen very shortly here from this rear camera angle, that from looking back from Elliot Andrew. And that's Sam Thompson going by. So Elliot Andrew was actually able to get a little bit of draft off of that. That assists him in keeping that lead. But as we get down to 5 to go, Sam Thompson's going to have to try and find a way to get to that back bumper. And maybe a couple of mistakes like that one from Andrew is the way to do it. And we have some good battles going on for P7 as well. Dan Patrick's actually starting to fall back. He has some front end damage in that machine, with Nicholas Lowndes looking on at his rear bumper. So I think Dan Patrick might be a little bit down on power, Ryan.
Yeah, very well could be here. We should be hurting him because, as you say, Nicholas Lowndes is all over the back of him now. And they're falling away just a little bit to the Gaines and Jones battle just up ahead. You can see it just up in front of them there. About, what are they, a second behind them at the moment?
Yeah, just about a second behind them, and Dan Patrick is all eyes forward. Nicholas Lowndes actually looks like he got a little bit of a bad exit there, so he's going to fall back almost a second as they go over the bridge.
Interesting, the gap between Andrew and Thompson, how it's suddenly opened up again. Both of them dropped over a second last time by.
Contact between Gaines and Jones there through the corners. Gaines making contact with the left rear of Zeal Jones as they went through that turn. So Gaines is not going to be very happy about that one there. He feels like he got cut off there, I think.
Potentially. Just to finish off my point, it was interesting. Lap 12, Andrew and Thompson both dropped a second to what they were running before that. And then this lap, they both recovered it again. So track doing some backflips out there as well as cloud cover comes over the racetrack and it heats up and cools down. It's messing with these drivers a bit as well. And here we go. Look at this. Oh boy, three wide contact. They're both gone. This could clean all of them up. Murray Brooks spins. Nathan Anderson spins as well. And it was Paul Stubbs in the middle of the three cars that acted as a ping pong ball.
I don't know about this one.
Here we go. Tries to split the middle. Gets into Nathan. Gets into Brooke. And around they both go. Brooke on the right. Anderson on the track. Somehow, no one else gets caught up. That's a big shame, though.
Yeah, that's just going for a move that just ain't there. There was no space between those two cars. And just, it would have had to have been millimeter perfect. Unable to do so. Paul Stubbs, but it now inherits ninth, so I guess strategically it worked out for him. But unfortunately, that knocks Anderson back to 14th.
So back at the front, the gap now 3/4 of a second. Andrew from Thompson be hoping it stays like this as they head onto the final lap of the race. Looking at the white flag next time by that start-finish stripe down to the main straight, just on the other side of those grandstands, the right-hand side of your screen. Stadium section of the track, this is often referred to.
Yeah, Thompson's going to have to find some sort of magic here. He has not been able to close those last 8/10 up to Andrew. So if he's got any magic left in the bag, now's the time to pull it out here as they cross the line.
The gap at the line, 666. So Elliot Andrew ran a 2:14 flat. Thompson a 2:13.8. He was 2/10 quicker last time by. Needs to be a little bit quicker than that to even have a chance at having a look at the inside or the outside on this lap as they commit fully through Maggis and Beckett, sliding their way through. The only way to take it, to go fast, it seems, in these cars. Out of Chapel, the exit crucial for Andrew. He's got it done pretty well there. And he won't be under pressure up here at the next corner. Down the hanger straight, the gap reduces in the slipstream for Thompson. Gets closer and closer. It'll come down to about half a second, just under, as they switch to the brake pedal. Still, not close enough, but he gets closer again.
A little bit slow on the exit of the corner, but he's definitely gained. But he's going to have to make some sort of move, especially, I feel like the place where he's going to gain the most is closing in towards the, frankly, towards the bridge, and that's a really risky place to try and make a move. So he's going to have to hang on to the rear end of Andrew here as they get closer and closer towards the last part of this lap.
Here we go, he's there. Will he go for a lunge up the inside? He shows the nose. Andrew covers as Thompson darts back to the racing line. This is going to compromise Andrew on the exit of the corner, or at least it should. Thompson didn't quite capitalize as much as he could have there. Andrew escaped that well. That was a great defensive move from him just before the braking zone. Now there's just 2 corners remaining, and he might have a gap big enough to hold off. He needs to be as clean as he can through these last 2 corners. Don't make a mistake. Don't overcook it. Meets the apex nicely. Thompson lurches ever closer behind. But into the final quarter for Elliot Andrew. He fends off a big challenge from Sam Thompson. And from pole position, thanks to the invert, he proves his race pace and he wins race 1 here at Silverstone. And Sam Thompson from second will finish second as well.
Fantastic fight from those drivers for sure, as we see more drivers crossing the line. Greg Hurst in third, Thomas Harrison in fourth, Zeal Jones fifth, Carl Gaines is going to come home sixth, with Dan Patrick in seventh, as he's just not going to be able to get there.
Kitching, he will finish in 14th place, just behind the unfortunate Nathan Anderson. Bramwell King ahead of him as well. Mark Mallard back there too. In fact, did Kitching redress that right before the line? Or did he just slow up really quickly?
I believe he slowed up really quickly.
Jordan Michaels, 21st. Rest of the field comes across the line. We've got a 10-minute warm-up before we go racing for the feature event. So we've got time to take a little break here on the Global SimRacing Channel. But stay with us. There's still 3 more races, including both races at the main event, coming up here at the 2K Cup. Welcome back to the Global SimRacing Channel, our coverage of the 2K Cup iRacing Sunday League season finale here at Silverstone Circuit. The 2008 version of the Silverstone Circuit before its massive renovation, running what was the GP layout, as you can see there on your screen. 17 turns, 5.1 kilometers in length, and apparently 5.1 very, very exciting kilometers in length, because race 1 of the all-comers, Adam, was an absolute doozy.
It really was. We saw a lot of action, some great side-by-side battles, and almost a couple of three-wide moments, but they didn't end up happening the way that the drivers would have wanted them to. A couple of drivers... yeah, a couple of drivers a little bit disenfranchised by that, but we're going to have a very exciting race, especially with the drivers that are up front for this next, for the feature race for the all-comers session.
And similarly, some of the guys that aren't at the front, notably Bromwell King, he's going to have to start outside of the top 10 from 12th place, I believe. Probably the fastest driver in that event, I would argue, Adam, until he got taken out. Not once, not twice, but 3 times through no fault of his own, and still finished 12th. So look out for him to potentially charge through the field. Nathan Anderson and Murray Brook will both be looking for redemption as well after being destroyed on the entry to Maggots by one of those disenfranchised 3-wide moves.
Yeah, and
disenfranchised 3-wide moves.
And Brian, the unfortunate thing for all these drivers is that the driver who they would have taken offense from is up ahead of them on track, so they are going to have to sneak their way by a driver who they would rather see less of tonight.
Yes. So the reverse top 10 means everyone at the back of the top 10 starting at the front. So Gardner and Stubbs occupy the front row. That incredible battle we saw with guys like Dan Patrick, Kyle Gaines, Zeal Jones, Murray Brook, Greg Hurst, Sam Thompson, Elliot Andrew. They're all going to fight their way back through the field. The roles have been reversed for those guys that couldn't make the overtake stick. Well, they're now starting ahead of those competitors that were holding them up all race long. Whoever that was in the background, I'm hoping they've got that out of the way and don't do that in the race, because that's a very awkward spot to spin.
Yeah, but, you know, the interesting thing is with these standing starts, your starting position can, you know, go from mattering quite a bit to mattering not at all in the moment of just a couple of seconds if you don't get a great start off the line. So these drivers, hopefully they practice their starts, especially those who are starting at the front of the grid today.
Just over a minute left in our warm-up here before race 2 gets underway. Remember, this is the race that counts. The top 3 at the end of this one, when the checkered flag flies, will get a spot in the main event, which carries the same format we are seeing right here. It's just all the drivers that, on paper, qualified a lot faster, and they've booked their spot into that category over the course of the season. It involves guys like Liam Lawson, part of the Red Bull Junior program, Matthew Payne, National KZ2 karting champion, Shane Van Gisbergen, 2016 Supercars champion. At the start of the year, start of the season, we saw Brendan Hartley, former Formula 1 driver and 2-time World Endurance champion in the field as well. Plus many more drivers from across New Zealand motorsport categories, both up and coming and existing, who have put their mettle to test out there in the sim world. It's put on some fantastic shows, and let us say the all-comers have taken the challenge of the main event, saying we have the best racing, and gone check out our stuff, because race 1, I reckon, gives that a run for its money, and I think race 2 is going to be just the same here.
I definitely agree, Ryan. I think it's going to be a fantastic race for the second one, and these drivers are going to be fighting all the harder because this is that season finale we were talking about, so they're going to have to work very, very hard to try and make their way up to the front of this field and get one of those coveted top 3 spots.
Well, this is how they will line up for your final event of the season for the all-comers split of the 2K Cup. Neil Gardner, Paul Stubbs, your front row ahead of Nicholas Lowndes and Dan Patrick. Kyle Gaines starts from 5th ahead of Zeal Jones, 6th. Thomas Harrison and Greg Hurst, 7th and 8th. Sam Thompson and Elliot Andrew, your 2 fastest drivers, start from the back of the top 10.
Then we have Graham Wallace and Bramwell King starting off 11th and 12th with Nathan Anderson 13th, Mark Mallard 14th. Then we have Will Kitching, Murray Brook, Jonathan Turner, and Michael Keys, as well as Cam James and Paul Greeny rounding out your top 20.
Check out the rest of the order on the left-hand side of your screen or at the live timing at gsrc.tv. Check out where everyone in the field is running at every single point in time, including lap times and sector times. All the info you could need right there. Thanks to the Global SimRacing Channel. As the red lights come on up on the gantry, the drivers cast their eyes there and plant that right foot down as the revs rise. The green flag flies, and we're racing, and what a launch from Nicholas Lowndes, straight through the middle to the lead of the race.
Absolutely fantastic launch, and good launch from pretty much everybody in the back as well. So as they spread out into the first turn, everybody's doing a great job of picking up speed here. Not as much incidents as we saw at the beginning of the last race, so these front drivers are doing great. But Nicholas Lowndes from third to first off of the line. Neil Gardner, Dan Patrick falling in line behind it.
I do recall turn 1 being clean in race 1. It was afterwards that the calamity ensued. So we'll bite our tongue for the rest of the lap. Side by side further back, it's Greg Hurst gets caught on the inside through Chapel and gets passed by Zeal Jones. And Bramwell King gets edged out into the grass by that Greg Hurst car. Just to keep it on the racetrack, as now Neil Gardner up at the front pulls to the inside of Lowndes to try and retake the race lead that he lost about 3 meters after the start line. And he takes it back away from Lowndes. Dan Patrick sits in third after starting 4th. Stubbs from 2nd to 4th. In the opening half a lap.
And everyone's getting very held up here. Greg Hurst having to try and make a move there as, whoa, a little bit of side-by-side contact. That was between Zeal Jones and Carl Gaines. Once again, barging his way through Zeal Jones with significant left side damage. So Bramwell King making his way around him. He's going to slot himself into the 7th position.
It was Thomas Harrison. Carl Gaines is just up ahead of those guys, I believe. As a big lunge from the man passing Greg Hurst, Elliot Andrew, which edges out to Mark Mallard into the grass. Just there, you see him side by side, losing spots. On the inside of the racetrack is Graham Wallace and Cam James go on by him. As a big look from Nathan Anderson at the inside of Greg Hurst. Out to the very outside of the track. He's still got an overlap as Mallard, I believe, spins behind. Now he's on the wrong side of the track as Anderson. We try to switch back on Hurst at the final corner here. Turn it in, hit the apex, power down before Hurst can. He does, he gets the power down, but has he got enough speed to pull to the inside at turn 1, which frankly is not a very inviting move.
He's probably going to decide to stay in line. Let's see how much of a draft he gets off of Hurst. He does seem to back off a little bit here, so he's going to stay in line going through turn 1. But now we go into a very complicated sector through that Beckett's sequence. Oh no, Anderson off into the AstroTurf, and so is Hurst. They both spin. Both of them managed to keep it out of the wall. Unbelievable. But here they are getting back on track. They've lost significant positions. This is 3 wide that goes by them.
There is Hurst rejoining in amongst the frenzy of the midfield. And he's now 21st after that, unfortunately. Pretty close for 6th. Zeal Jones coming under pressure from Bramwell King, who's already up to 7th after starting 12th, and now he's looking to make it +6 as he pulls to the inside. Couldn't quite complete it. On board with Jones, that is King to his inside. That's Thomas Harrison behind. In the chicane, if you can go around the long way, it's often doable to make it stick at the second part, but not quite able to pull it off there.
Yeah, Ryan, Zeal Jones is not keen on letting anyone by today. He has, as you see him completely cover off Bramwell King there, King's going to have to slot over to the other side of the track. He's going to try and go around the outside of this next corner as well. But Jones defending very, very deep into the corners like this one, where he dives it very deep. He's going to compromise his exit when trying to keep Bramwell King behind him. King's going to get the inside as they go underneath the bridge. I believe King's going to stick it out here. Yes, he is, but Zeal Jones sticks it out as well. Now they switch back over as they go into the next corner.
Bramwell King is working him over, but Jones is up for it, isn't he? He is defending very well at the moment. That's a big dive, and now he gets it done. A bit of a check on the middle of the corner, door to door, ensures that that move is sealed in his favor, as Harrison behind will lose out to Elliot Andrew, who was your race 1 winner. Hasn't pulled much early progress. He's still only fighting for 8th. Done better than Thompson, though. He's back to 14th, unfortunately.
We're going to take a look at the battle for a second because Dan Patrick is closing on Nicholas Lowndes quite sufficiently here. He's got a great run. He's going to look to the inside of the next corner. Wow, very, very tight here as they go by very close.
Whoa,
major
touch.
Contact.
Out into the grass in the sand trap for Dan Patrick. He's going to rejoin in a very awkward spot. Great heads-up driving, not to drive straight back on the track there. He just waited till the exit of the corner, not to cause chaos as he rejoined, cost him some extra spots. But good news is his car's a bit cleaner now.
Nathan Anderson and Paul Greeny just had a big wreck on one of the straights. Anderson's so damaged, he's going to go to the pits.
He's not had a good day, has he? Unfortunately, he's shown up a pretty good pace, but being caught up in a few incidents that weren't his fault. Not sure about that one, though.
But this is a very tight battle here as we take a look at the battle between Bramwell King, Carl Gaines, and then right behind them, Elliot Andrews and Zeal Jones as well, as they're side-by-side going into the corner. Wow, that was a deep dive from Andrews. He almost got into the back of Carl Gaines there as Bramwell King is able to maintain his 4th position on track right now.
And trying to capitalise just back there as well as Dan Patrick, who was 3rd at the start of the lap, is now back in 8th, unfortunately, after the contact through Maggots to the inside of Zeal Jones. And Jones pinched him down to the apex and drove right back on by him. That's a corner that does lend itself to the car on the outside due to the profile of it. And I believe he probably knew that because he did a very good job defending that one. Elliot Andrew now to the inside of Carl Gaines, just in front on the brakes, and through he goes, but Gaines tries to fight back. Wasn't quite able to find that door ajar. And spot gained. Elliot Andrew up into 5th place now.
Yeah, you know, that's the most frustrating thing about racing Silverstone, but also one of the most beautiful things about its strategy play is that every single thing you've learned about, you know, doing over-unders through corners, you just got to throw away at this racetrack because it switches back so often that the over-under really often puts you in a backwards position. Looks like Zeal Jones has been spun around in that 9th position. He is now falling back significantly. We're going to take a look at replay of this. Oh. Looks like the two of them just came together through that first turn. So Zeal Jones and trying to take the normal racing line there, and he was still side by side with another car. So he's fallen now all the way back to the 11th spot.
Quarter race distance then up for these drivers. As this one looking to go by just as quickly as race number 1. 1.5 seconds is the gap between Gardner and Lowndes at the front. 2.6 back to Stubbs, 4.5 back to King. Then it really closes up with Andrew, Gaines, Patrick, and Harrison all in a scrap behind them. Pretty close scrap for 9th as well between those guys you just saw on screen. Wallace, James, Jones, and Brooke. So there's 2 packs forming at the moment out there on the track around Silverstone.
And we want to report with you on Bramwell King, who was our fastest driver in the last race. He is now in the 4th position, 1 spot away from a transfer spot, about 1.5 behind Paul Stubbs, who's up ahead of him. Remember, Paul Stubbs was involved in that three-way incident that happened towards the end of last race. So wow, a lot of cars actually just went off through that sector of corners, and I believe Paul Stubbs almost was one of them, but here comes Bramwell King already looking towards his outside.
Stubbs going to have a hard time fending off King, who's desperate to get some payback for the drama he incurred in race 1. Remember, this is for the final spot to book your place inside the main event, so Stubbs has got something to fight for here. Opts not to defend at turn 1. He's hoping King doesn't go for it, but he does. The door's open, and King shoves his way through it. And he's up onto the final step of the podium with a great move up at the first corner on the racetrack. Behind them out in the grass. And was that out into the fence as well? He took a hard left. No, he managed to keep it on track.
That was Dan Patrick in the 29 car. Now he's fallen back to 8th position, but he had a very exciting off track there through turn 1.
Here we go. Here's a replay of it. So this is back onto the main straight. That is, looks like Kyle Gaines just in front of him. Side by side. A repeat of Patrick and... Sorry, a repeat of King and Stubbs almost, but Patrick backed out of it. So what happened up at the exit of the corner? Just completely washed out from underneath him, the front end, and then the car slid to the left. That's what I saw. And he did a very good job to wheel that thing away from the fence.
Time to change the fire suit for him for sure. That is the stressful moment when that car slots over and starts heading towards the wall, and there's nothing you can do but try and counter steer out of it. A good battle going on for the 9th position, though, with Cam James, Zeal Jones, and Murray Brook. They're all under a hat right now, all under 0.3 of a second. And look at this. Very interesting line here from Cam James and Zeal Jones as they go over-under on each other. Zeal Jones is going to dive it late into the corner. And look at this. Murray Brook's going to try and take the opportunity as well. Nothing doing there. Cam James is held up as Zeal Jones is on the apex there. This brings Graham Wallace back into the picture. Graham's going to look to the inside under the bridge. Murray Brook's going to cover him off, though. But that's going to compromise his line on exit.
Great opportunistic move from Jones to pull through on the inside, and Brook just prevented the crossover move from happening from James, so be disappointed with that. He'll be hoping to try and fight back, though, as they come back onto the main straight. Slipstream may come into his favour, using all of the racetrack and the curb on the inside, almost 2 tyres on the grass for Cam James. Trying to cut it as short as possible on a board with him. You can see how close he is to the back of Jones's car as they come across the stripe, which is very early on the main straight here at Silverstone. It's unlike a lot of racetracks where it sits roughly in the middle. You see, he lifts off a little bit early to allow Jones to carry more momentum on entry because he wants some momentum on the exit, but he's run a little bit wide, misjudged it, gets sideways, and unfortunately, much like Wallace behind as well, will lose a handful of time as a result. That's that little bit of aero push you get from the car in front, even with these cars.
Definitely, and these MX5s have no downforce to help them keep control of the car as they go through that AstroTurf on the outside. So it gets very, very dangerous as they go through that. The cars basically just are aquaplaning on the AstroTurf out there. So amazing to see that they held on to them.
Just in the background, I think I saw Greg Hurst rejoining the track after having to shortcut the chapel section.
Yeah, and this was almost major contact with another vehicle behind him. That was
There
Jordan
he is,
Michaels.
at the back of the train, and replay will tell us the tail, as he pulled to the inside of his fellow blue compatriot.
That's Michaels.
Oh, that was that's a wild ride. He got some airtime.
You don't even want to do that in your road car. Oh, we've had a major incident here between Will Kitchling and Craig Brock. Those two cars getting together, and now it's 3 wide and even more contact. They're going to spin Michael Ferguson off, as well as Michael Keyes, who went around as well. So, wow, a lot of things cracking off here in the mid-pack.
And the replay button continues to get its workout today. So here we go. Look at that train in front. That's Greg Hurst as well, so Chummer following him around today. Up in front, Craig Brock. That's him at the very head of the train. Gets turned around. Hit by another car. And then, as they make their way back onto the straight here, 3 wide. Doesn't work out. And around they go. Uh-oh.
Oh,
That's a big hit.
that's one that'll wake you up in the morning. We're going to take a look at Ferguson. Yeah, watch this. He just, that's heart stopping.
Well, the good news is this is virtual, so no bruises for him unless he's on one of those $150,000 motion rigs, and in that case, ouch.
Well, take a look at this. Bramwell King has not been able to shake Elliott Andrew. Now, we know how good Andrew is on the defense, but how is he on the offense? We haven't seen it today. So Andrew's going to get his opportunity to try and shake things up with Bramwell King for that final transfer spot. And up ahead of them, Nicholas Lowndes has managed to claw a little bit of time away from Neil Gardner as well, so we'll keep our eyes on that. But this is where the battle is right now. Andrew looking on King as they come through these next set of corners.
Well, that is the top two at the front of your screen, and then the battle for third behind them. So it's still pretty close out there. Only 1.1 between your race leaders, and only about a tenth or two between these guys on the screen. Still plenty to play for with 9 laps to go, 8 to go in a moment. In the old version of the Silverstone Grand Prix layout from 2008. From that angle, you really get a sense of how much later Andrew appears to be on the brakes. Look at that.
He's much later on the brakes, and what's interesting is that Bramwell King seems to be struggling a little bit with tire grip. So even though Andrew's getting later on the brakes, he's able to pivot on the center of the corner quite a bit more than King. But King is carrying a lot of speed on exits, so he's able to carry his speed into the straights, whereas Andrew looks to be closing on the apexes. So just two different driving styles tackling these fixed setups tonight.
Last time by, their times were near identical. As King out sideways on the AstroTurf rejoins in wild style. And Andrew looking to capitalize on a crazy moment for King. So what happens when he misjudged it at turn 1 at maximum grip level. You touch on AstroTurf, it all dissipates very quickly at that speed. It's very hard to keep it straight. King did a good job to hold on to it, but now he's going to hold on to third because as he tries to shake the draft, Andrew gets closer in that rear view mirror and King edges it back to the right-hand side of the racetrack, and again he moves. That's 3 moves down that straight. Playing with the edges of the rulebook in terms of defense.
That was just one move, just with a bunch of oscillations in it.
He moved once and then moved once again the same direction. I think that counts as 2, does it? Technically.
Not for Bramwell King's book, but Elliott Andrews starting to get a little bit of, well, I suppose what Bramwell King would say, his own medicine with the blocks going on here. King putting his rear bumper where Andrew wants to be at pretty much every apex here, but Andrew still late on the brakes for every corner. He gets a decent line coming through the corners here, but going underneath the bridge, he's still falling away from King, unable to close that gap. Oh, Dan Patrick's had a big problem. He was in the 5th position, but now he has major left side damage. He's falling back significantly into the clutches of that battle for 7th.
He's on the inside. That's going to be a rapidly closing gap. Oh, that was a big squeeze on from, that looks like, it looks like Murray Brook. And I tell you what, Patrick did a good job to jam on that brake pedal and avoid the door slamming firmly shut on his fingers. Go back to the King and Andrew battle as that resolves itself. King appears on the right-hand side of the track. Looks like he was snaking his way down that straight. And again, he's out. This time he's much further than the AstroTurf. He's all the way out in the extra runoff. Rejoins over the grass. Probably going to have a slowdown now, though. So let's see if he does, and if he does, can he clear it without losing time, as Andrew took all the available racetrack, probably too much on the inside there. And now he's got to slow down. And King doesn't, apparently.
Yeah, so I guess you could definitely go out there if you want to. So we might see more drivers taking advantage of that when we get to our top split, but Elliott Andrew here having to back off. He's still within a second, though, so he can still make his way back up to Bramwell King with that draft. But the lead is closing in underneath half a second now between Nicholas Lowndes and Neil Gardner for the lead.
This gap's just be ebbing and flowing between these two. 1 lap, Gardner's quicker. 1 lap, Lowndes is quicker. Last lap, Gardner was quickest. But on this lap, Lowndes is reeling him in.
It's just a good battle between these drivers here.
Bit of inconsistency coming into play, I think, from these two drivers. Not one of them able to ascertain themselves as the fastest. And as a result, this gap cannot stay constant. But now Gardner's under a lot of pressure. That's a mistake. And this is the door ajar for Lowndes. And through goes Lowndes on the brakes, on the inside, as easy as you like for the lead of the race. And Gardner is going to have to find some of that pace now to try and recover, because that was a critical mistake.
Yeah, Gardner just getting a little bit tight through the corner, and unfortunately that pushed him all the way out wide at one of the worst points to lose speed on this track. And so
Check
Nicholas
out
Lowndes
P8.
able to sneak through.
There's contact between Zeal Jones, Cam James. 3 cones go flying. No cars though. Dan Patrick, Murray Brook, and Graham Wallace all lined up behind these guys too. And that was Jones defending from James. Just edged him out to the outside of the track, and James got pushed out into the poor cones that were just innocently flung 50 feet across the track.
Yeah, and this battle has been chaotic for the last couple of laps. These guys have been going no holds barred especially between Zeal Jones and Cam James. And here we go again. This is going to get interesting as they go side by side through these corners here. This is going to be very stressful for everybody, including the drivers behind, everyone trying to figure out where they're going to go here.
Yeah, as they go side by side with the front and swip and swap, everyone behind us to check up to avoid getting into the back of them. So it affects them all here, as now Patrick wants no part, wants to get ahead of him. With a great run out of Chapel, he's going to clear him down the hanger straight. And Murray Brook is going to try to follow him as well on the inside line up on the next corner. So James going to lose 2 spots here as Brook gets to the bumper of Patrick by the time they reach the braking zone. He gets into him again. He goes for a little slide, but he holds onto it. And Brook goes by James. And Brook jumps on the intercom, apologizes for that contact with Patrick. The good news is they're both through. No harm done.
Brook saying
Wallace tries to capitalize too.
Brook was saying, oh my goodness, as Wallace and Cam James get very close together, but Brook was saying, Patrick, you're on the brakes too early, mate. Keep going. Keep going. I need to pass too.
Patrick immediately up to the back bumper of Zeal Jones now, looking for 8th place. And to the grass he goes, to the right-hand side of the track. Speed not abating for that car. As he winds up all the way out on the edges of the sand trap. Missed his brake marker, had to dive to the right to miss Zeal Jones.
And Zeal Jones dives into the corners late, so watch this. He comes up behind him, look at him pull that wheel to the right to try and avoid it. He manages not to hit the outside wall, so that car will remain undamaged, but Dan Patrick with a very panicky moment there.
Well, I guess Murray Brook doesn't have to worry about Patrick braking early anymore. Race lead. Half a second still in it. Now it's Lowndes to Gardner after that very easy move in the end. He was 2/10 quicker last time by, but Gardner not letting him go. The gap is fluctuating between 3 and 5/10 of a second. With 5 laps to go in the all-comers split for Season 1 of the 2K Cup iRacing Sunday League. They've recently announced 2 more mini-seasons, if you will, coming to iRacing. 3 rounds each. The final round of both seasons being broadcasted right here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Head to their Facebook page to find out more about that.
And take a look at this. Gardner seems to be kind of sizing up Lowndes. We have some significant cloud cover coming over now. We're going to jump on board with Gardner as we watch him try and pursue Lowndes. Lowndes actually has some significant left front damage, which might be affecting his top line speed. But Gardner's still unable to make his way by. But look at this. Lowndes very, very wide through this corner. This looks very similar to how Lowndes got past Gardner, but Gardner unable to capitalize on it. Now as they approach this next sector, this is going to be very complicated for them. Gardner just trying to figure out a way by. Oh, as King and Andrew are side by side for the final transfer position, they actually make contact. This is heading under the bridge. Bramwell King just got a little bit upset on the exit of the corner. We're going to take a look at this. Elliott Andrew able to snake his way by, but they were side by side as they went into the corners. And here Andrew and King just making a little bit of contact going under the bridge. And we know how good Andrew is on defense. King's going to have his work cut out to him to try and pass him back.
Indeed he will, as the race leaders will now tick over to 4 laps to go, with a handy margin for Lambs now over Gardner. And you see there, Andrew now ahead of King. That gap, not very big at all, just a couple tenths of a second, with Stubbs looking on in 5th place, having recovered from losing a bunch of time after initially getting past, has started to come back up to these guys, which is interesting.
I think King might be done being shunted today. He's gonna, I think he's gonna try and send it up the inside on Andrew at some point. And Andrew, I know he's good at defense, but he's gonna have to be ready for that move because King will leave no stone unturned when he makes that move, I don't believe. This battle for ninth still very tight. This is actually all snaking in behind Zeal Jones, Graham Wallace, Murray Brook, and Cam James involved in this, and it is very close between Wallace and James, and Jones rather. Jones getting a bad exit off the corner. Graham Wallace with the draft. He's going to look to the outside, but Zeal Jones, we know how strong he is. He actually gets into the grass there. He's almost going to make contact between Graham Wallace there. He's going to lose a lot of time. Can he commit to the corner enough to hold the position? He dives it in deep. Graham Wallace going around the outside. Can he hold the outside? Now Zeal Jones is going to cross across the track and cover him off there. He's going to stick to the very inside of the corner. Here comes Murray Brook looking on it now, and they're all going to have to back out of it going into the corner. Zeal Jones way off!
He misses it by a couple country miles, and will have to rejoin and serve a pretty lengthy slowdown, which allows Wallace and Brook to breeze on by. And Cam James as well ends up in the grass trying to get by Jones. But it will happen.
Well, that chaotic moment just now ending. Zeal Jones, though, is not done yet. He's trying to get back to Cam James. And look at that. Graham Wallace and Murray Brook not done battling either, as the lead as well closes up. Everything is starting to crack off here in these
contact,
final 4 laps. Oh, no!
And collected, Murray Brook, by Zeal Jones as he slid backwards across the racetrack. Have a look at this.
And it was an incident ahead of the...
So Jones can see there the contact up in front as Brook drifted to the right-hand side and then slid back across after getting spun. It looked like Brook drifted to the right-hand side of the track, didn't it, on the entry of that corner and got into the left side of Wallace.
Oh, and Bramwell King and Andrew are side by side once again, and King able to regain that 3rd position. This is exactly what I was talking about. This was the exit of 1, and Elliott Andrew now is going to have to regain that position back from King as they battle for that final transfer spot. Everything cracking off here in these last couple laps.
Yes, of course it is. It's how it always goes. It's the final laps that always erupt with excitement in motor racing and sim racing. The lead's closed as well, down to 0.3 of a second. Or 7 tenths now. It's fluctuating again. Side by side for 3rd. King with Andrew on his inside. Becomes the outside. He switches back though for the chicane. Darts back to the racing line. Stubbs now right up to the back of these guys as well. So a 3-way fight for the final transfer spot to the main.
Last time we saw a moment like this from Stubbs, it didn't end well for most of the drivers. So these guys are definitely battling very hard as Andrew almost gets pushed off track there by King going out towards the racing line. He had the position established. Andrew trying to figure out where to go. He decides on the outside, King on the inside. Look at this though. They're going to cross over here. Here we go under the bridge. Andrew's going to try and stick it up the inside. Is he? Is King going to try and block it off? No, Andrew deciding to stay behind him. Stubbs starting to lose a little bit of touch here. Andrew clipping the inside grass there. He's going to lose a little bit of time. This will draw Stubbs back in. Almost contact between the two of them as they go through the corner. Elliott Andrew really close to Bramwell King. Whoa, King almost leaves the door open there. Andrew trying to put his nose in, unable to do so. So he's actually going to get a compromised exit here off of the corner. This might give King the breathing room he needs to stay ahead, but the lead has closed up to under 0.3 of a second now.
Gardner was 0.3 quicker last time by. Execute that again. He'll be right up on his back bumper for the final lap of this race. So try to keep an eye on that and on the battle for third as well. Close for 6th place too, but not quite as close as this. I think Andrews wanted the best spot to make a move up at the exit of the hangar straight here, so let's watch them behind in the battle for third. As they come out of Chapel, the exit crucial for King. He pulls a couple car lengths on him. That might be critical in his defense as he tries to get rid of that slipstream that Andrew is just lapping up at the moment. Showing the nose. Pretty far away for a lunge, but King felt the need to defend it either way. Didn't want to risk it.
This is very close between them. Andrew looking towards that inside, thinking he's going to go there. Bramwell King covers it off. Andrew's going to have to go around the outside of the corner. King very deep on the brakes, too deep. He's into the grass. Andrew's going to be able to inherit the spot.
And just missing Stubbs with the re-entry was King. So Andrew up into P3 and now looking comfortable for it. As ahead of them, Gardner continues to try and find the last couple of tenths to get to the back of Lowndes.
Yeah, Gardner just has not been able to get to that rear bumper. He's going to have to pull out everything he has as they get ready to go on to the final lap of this race. Lowndes is going to have to try and make sure that he makes no mistakes here. They're actually catching up to some lap traffic, so this actually might benefit Lowndes if he can get a toe on one of these straights here. Matt Carmichael will be at the car that they're going to try and go past, but Carmichael is very slow. They might catch him going through the twistier portions of this track. Neil Gardner still within a second, but look at that. Lowndes starting to pull away.
So the white flag in the air on the all-comers split for Season 1 of the 2K Cup on iRacing. Don't forget it exists in real life, has done for about 7 years now. So certainly not the first time we've seen these drivers in the 2K Cup. But in iRacing, yes. The gap sits at 0.7. So that might be enough for Lowndes, although there is a laps car just in front of Carmichael. What part will that play in this little battle?
Yeah, here we go. Neil Gardner trying to get through. Oh, look at this. Nicholas Lowndes is going to have a significant draft here as they get onto the straight. Neil Gardner is way back, so here we go. How is Carmichael going to handle this? He's actually going to slow down on the straight, so Lowndes has to make evasive action. That's actually going to pull Gardner back in a little bit, so as they come through the corner here, look at this. Gardner very late on the brakes. He's going to late apex this, which is the correct line. Here they go, powering out of the corner now. Neil Gardner trying to close into the back of Lowndes, unable to do so.
0.8 of a second. It stretches out for Lowndes and should be home free now. Into the final sector on the racetrack. Just got to keep it clean and hit its marks.
Yeah, I don't think Gardner's got any room to get there. He's going to have to send it late into each of these corners to even get to the rear bumper of Lowndes. Let's see how he does this. He looks to the inside, but he's way far back. Lowndes just very calmly takes the corner, gets up onto that curb. He comes through. He's going to try and just take this very smoothly and is able to do so. One more corner to go for Nicholas Lowndes.
But out of the final corner, a checkered flag will fly over Nicholas Lowndes, who wins race 2 and will transfer to the main event here at Silverstone Circuit for the 2K Cup season finale. Gardner home in second, and Elliot Andrew will claim P3.
Here we see this last battle. That's Carl Gaines, who's going to be able to secure 6th position with Thomas Harrison 7th and Graham Wallace 8th. Cam James is going to finish in the 9th position as they cross the line. And your final driver in 10th is going to be Greg Hurst.
Jordan Michaels there has had an issue and has spun and is in pit lane. That's not pit lane, that's the other route through the final corner. Going to have a pretty big slowdown. He's going to have to clear, unfortunately. And he will come across the line, and the rest of the drivers will finish off their race. And we will look forward now to the feature event. Let's have a look at our results from this all-comers split. The victory went the way of Lowndes. 6/10 back to Gardner. 9 seconds back to Elliot Andrew and Paul Stubbs in 3rd and 4th. Bremel King rounded out the top 5. Carl Gaines and Thomas Harrison ahead of Graham Wallace, Cam James, and Greg Hurst, your top 10.
Zeal Jones is going to come home in 11th with Jonathan Turner coming home in 12th position. Marcus Little's going to come home in 13th with Will Kitching 14th. Sam Thompson in 15th. He had a spin on his own a little bit early on in the race with Jordan Michaels in 16th position. Mark Mallard 17th. Benjamin Adams 18th. Andrew Altman 19th spot with Paul Smith rounding out the top 20.
Just behind them, Michael Ferguson, Michael Keys, Anthony Howard, Murray Brook, and Paul Tahili. Paul Greeny was the final car in the lead lap, and then drivers with issues: Craig Brock, Matt Carmichael, Dan Patrick, Nathan Anderson, and the rest of the field coming up on your screen as well. We will finish multiple laps down as a result. And with that, we will take a break here on the Global SimRacing Channel, but stay with us because after this, we come back with coverage of the main event here from Silverstone. Welcome back to the Global SimRacing Channel, to our coverage of the inaugural season finale of the 2K Cup iRacing Sunday League. Getting ready for the main event here with a nice field lined up for us for the final race. And a championship that is well and truly still alive. The top 10 in points still in with a chance of winning, with double points on offer for this final race. There's the top 5. James Watson's a 28-point margin over Matthew Smith. 42 back to Crowther, 61 to Thompson, and 63 to Hawkins. 10 points for pole position. 8 points for the win in race 1. 100 points for win in race 2. So, basically, put yourself in a good spot in race 1, and it's all on the line for the second race of the evening, Adam.
That's exactly right. 100 points means that that first race really is of no consequence. The only thing that can happen is that that lead could gain or shrink by a couple of positions, but with the amount of cars that we have on track, that lead in the championship is still definitely open-ended. It still could definitely swing to a different driver depending on how everyone finishes in these first couple races, but if the rest of the season is anything to go by, it's going to be a tight race for that lead spot for sure.
Certainly is. Qualifying about halfway through at the moment. Alistair Hawkins currently fastest by just under 2 tenths, back to Sabo. Chris Simon, Peter Vodanovic, and Sam Dunn still up there in 5th place. There is Hawkins completing another lap at the moment, in amongst all the traffic out there, which thankfully is a reasonably big racetrack. The traffic isn't a huge factor.
Yeah, but what's fascinating though, Ryan, is that we're just over halfway through we're just approaching halfway through qualifying, and only 17 cars have set times so far. Most of the field is still without a time, and that's not because they haven't been setting laps, it's because they've been getting off tracks. So that just shows you how many they get and how many more we're seeing here in the top split than we were in the all-comer split.
Yes, certainly. As we see now, Nicholas Lowndes, who we saw in the all-comers after winning race 2 here in the main event, comes across the line. Doesn't look like a great lap after being overtaken at the line, unfortunately. Darren Lobb, who took out victory back in the first time of broadcast of this, the South African sports car champion, goes up to pole, and Liam Lawson immediately knocks him off and goes faster by 0.04 of a second.
Yeah, so we're seeing quite a few different lead changes here, even as we get to the closing points. This lap, Shane Egger crossing the line, setting his fastest lap of the day, which is only good for 22nd, unfortunately, with Wayne Losh coming around the final corner, not looking like a fast lap for him. So quite a few drivers still struggling with the setup of the track conditions out there today. We're at a similar point as where we were last session with the weather. We're right now sitting at about 35 degrees Celsius on track. That's 95 Fahrenheit. And that's going to be pretty toasty for these guys. But as I said last race, with the loose setup that they have, they're going to actually want that hotter track temperature to try and keep the balance underneath the car. But that's going to create a neutral car, which they're going to have to get used to in order to try and make sure to not lose either the front end or the back end coming through, especially Maggots and Beckett's.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, it is fixed setups. The drivers can't make any adjustments to the setup on the car, which is handling that they have, is a handling they're stuck with, and driver themselves has to adjust and make all the difference out there. Aidan Lamont, still back there, 24th. Aaron Ivers, what can he do? 27th at the moment.
Yeah, Aaron looks like he isn't necessarily, I mean, he's on a quick lap, but that's not one that's going to count necessarily, because that was a little bit too quick to be realistic. Jonathan Turner gets a 220, but is not able to jump to the top. So unfortunately, looks like he had it off track there. Nathan Anderson just starting his next lap. He hasn't set a time yet either. So Brock Trainer as well without a time in the bucket. So a lot of these drivers really struggling with those off tracks right now in qualifying with only 5.5 to go.
Darren Lobb will stay second after his latest attempt. Liam Lawson will continue his form and go even faster still. Add another 0.5 tenth to his lap. 2:10.848 now the benchmark up the top. Good lap from him.
Yeah, definitely a good lap. Darren Lobb's going to actually pull off to the side of the road, get a reset, and try and get going out there for yet another lap. With Shane Edgar crossing the line, he goes his fastest, which is only good enough for 29th though. Sorry, Wayne Losh as good enough for 29th, but he's able to get a faster lap on him, and that's going to be good enough to secure him 25th position. So we drop back to the current 29th runner, John Midgley, as he comes across the line. We'll see whether or not he can get a faster lap. Ooh, very loose off the corner, but a 2:12.995 is going to be good enough to slot him up to 28th, so only one position up from his last position coming across the line.
Sabo, 5th place, 2:11.131, improves his time, but will stay in 5th, unfortunately. Corey Ross looking to improve it to 11.751. That's a warm-up lap for him, so he's starting a lap now.
Well, that's not going to be a good start to the lap for Corey, unfortunately. So he's going to have to reset and hope that he can get out and get on track. I don't think he's actually going to be able to get enough time in for 2 laps here, as we're watching Jonathan Turner come across the line here. He looks like he's on a flyer. Let's see what kind of time he can set, or whether or not he had another off track here. It looks like he's pretty conservative through the final corner, crosses the line, and does set a time. A 2:13.386 is going to be a decent time. Then we have Jaden Hune, who just got put down to the 4th position because Alex Pirlia came across and crossed into 3rd.
Neil Gardner saw him in the first race too. 2:13.4 will stay back in 20th with that effort. Josh Cole, 25th. That lap's invalidated as well. Pretty close field at the moment. A second covering a top 18 drivers. Nicholas Lowndes back in 28th. Still back there for that lap.
Liam Lawson just starting what will become his final flying lap here. So he's on pole. He's trying to get another flyer. So as Marcus Little crosses the line, unable to improve as well. So quite a few drivers, like I said, struggling with the conditions. Then we have Aaron Ivers coming across the line. He's starting his final flying lap. Taylor Cochran crosses the line, also starting his final flying lap. So quite a few drivers onto their final flying laps now. They're going to have to pray for good traffic. Liam Lawson, I can report, just had an off track, so he's not going to get a better time here. John Midley coming across the line. He's slower on this lap, so Darren Loeb is really poised in position to try and take the pole away from Liam Lawson if he can just get this lap done cleanly.
Pretty interesting top 2, a Formula 3 ace over in the FIA F3 Championship, part of the Red Bull Junior team, and Darren Loeb, a 3-time South African sports car champion. So 3 wildly different forms of racing, but both up at the top with a Mazda MX5. Aidan Lamont, 2:10, 11, 12, 2:68, improves by 0.4 of a second, goes to 22nd. Good late lap from him.
Yeah, these drivers for sure are the wheel men. As Mark Mallard comes, he's going to be coming across the line. It's going to be a slow lap, though, and he's not going to have enough time to put in a second one. But Darren Loeb in 2nd position currently, coming out of the final corner. This is going to be well, actually, here we go with Jonathan Turner coming out of the final corner. Actually, I got confused, as many do, with where Darren was actually on track. He has yet to go underneath the bridge, but Jonathan Turner, he's going to be unable to get another lap in. Here comes Craig Brock. He actually crosses the line just a couple of hundredths slower than his last time, so unable to improve. And Sabo coming across, unable to improve as well. So quite a few drivers really struggling. But now we get Darren Loeb, who's going to be coming through the final couple of corners. He's going to be trying to set his fastest time of the day and maybe unseat Lawson from that top spot.
Let's see then.
Oh no, Marcus Little in the center of the corner here.
Exit here is going to be crucial. Will he get held up? He keeps it, and the car is right there. Did it hold him up?
He made
contact. There was contact. Absolutely invalidated.
That's not going to be a happy driver right there. Darren Loeb might have had an opportunity to make a pass for the pole, but just a little bit of contact with Marcus Little ends up compromising that.
Taylor Cochran, 7th place. That's his session done. John Midgley, 34th. To 10, 11, 12, to 13, so we'll stay 34th. Zach Thompson aborts his lap, brings it down to pit lane. And with 10 seconds left on the clock, Jordan Mason spins. That might be a lot of drivers. One more across the line, just you saw there. We're on Crowther. He won't make it. So that means we now know your starting lineup for race 1, the 8-point paying out race. Getting yourselves ready for race 2. Top 10 at the end of this will be inverted. Top 10 at the end of qualifying are inverted, which means invert what you see on your screen there. Sam Dunstall, Matt Stevens are on the front row ahead of Chris Simon and Taylor Cockerdin. Antel Rafael Sabo and Alistair Hawkins on row 3. Jaden Hine and Alex Purley, 7th and 8th. Darren Lobb, Liam Lawson, they start 9th and 10th.
James Watson and Peter Vodanovich coming in 11th and 12th, and we have Warren Crowther and Matthew Smith in 13th, 14th. Zach Thompson, Leon Fox, Mike Cunningfold, Corey Ross, Brock Trainer, and Craig Brock round out your top 20.
First is Nicholas Lowndes and Jaden Mason alongside him. Neil Gardner and Aidan Lamont, 23rd, 24th. Wayne Losh and Nathan Anderson off row 13. Justin Allen and Shane Edgar, 27th and 28th. Aaron Ivers, Matthew Griffin, your top 30.
Then we have Josh Cole, Callum Pratt, and Elliot Andrew rounding out 33rd. Then John Midgley, Jonathan Turner, and Mark Mallard down to 36th. Then we've got Marcus Little, Paul Smith, Paul Ottaway, and Bramwell King rounding out your top 40. Then we got Bram Wallace, Benjamin Adams, Zach Blincole, and James McComb rounding out your 44-car field here for Heat 1.
Drivers waiting and getting ready for those red lights to come on at the front, and then we'll go racing. Dunstall and Stevens off the front row. Who will get the best launch? Remember the launch that Nicholas Lowndes had from 3rd in race 2? That was sensational. Can Chris Simon do that? Red lights are on. Revs rise. And for the main event, race 1 at Silverstone. Let's go racing. Green flag is out, and that's a poor start from Dunstall. Walks it down, gets a bit of wheel spin, and Matt Stevens will go through to the lead of the race. Chris Simon will follow him through round the outside at turn 1. Will take second place away. Dunstall tried to fight back, but no going there.
Oh.
Simon is sideways, and he spins off the exit of the corner.
That's going to allow Rafael Sabo to come through. So now it's Stevens, Dunstall, and Sabo who are through safely. And it looks like everybody... Ooh, a big wreck in the backfield. We'll check on that a little bit later. But everyone going very sideways through Baggins and Beckett's now.
The hanger straight then. Matt Stevens leading over Sam Dunstall in the Princess Peach Mario livery. Then Sabo in 3rd. Lawson up to 4th, plus 6 in the first sector for him. Jaden Hines side by side, as behind him, they're 3 wide. Darren Lobb trying to fend off a whole host of cars.
Yeah,
Alex Early behind him. Cockerdin back there as well. Hine going backwards.
Yeah, something's wrong with Hine for sure. He's going way backwards right now, but it's still side by side with Cockton and Thompson. Here comes Purley trying to make a dive on Loeb there. Loeb really trying to recover there. Darren really having a bad start to this race. Looks like Jaden Mason had a trouble in the backfield. We'll get back to that later as well. But huge wreck in the backfield.
That's a big shunt. And they're still touching. In fact, we'll get a replay of it up on screen just in a moment's time. Here we go. It's a down into the chicane. How did this one start? Contact behind, around on the racing line. Nowhere for people to go. First few miss, and the rest get caught up.
That's going to be a lot of drivers out of this race in these first couple of minutes here of this 33-minute race.
At 1, that leaves Stevens with the lead over Alistair Hawkins in 2nd. Darren Lobb in 3rd. In fact,
Oh, look at that. Lawson going very wide. Sabo also wide into the AstroTurf. Both of them able to maintain their speed. Sabo's actually going to look to the inside of the corner, but here we go through Maggots and Beckett's one more time. This is a very hard place to pass. It's better to set up for the straight. So as they go through, Liam Lawson getting a great run. He's actually going to try and back it off and late apex this corner to get a good run onto the straight. He does so. He's going to have an opportunity here on Sabo before they even start the straight and get a draft from Dunstall.
Scenario for Lawson, but wrong side of the racetrack here. Into the braking zone he goes. Kind of boxed in out there, but he's holding his own the long way around on Sabo. Liam Lawson, who I believe's raced this track in real life many a time, albeit the newer version of it, will make his way up into second place.
A good move from Lawson to try and hang on the outside of the corner. The start of the race is definitely the time to do that. Now he's got Dunstall in his sights up ahead of him, but he has to make sure to take these next couple corners cleanly because Sabo is not done looking at him. So here they come up towards what is going to become the bridge turn here. Look at this, Sabo looking to the inside. He's going to dive it down the inside on Lawson. Lawson's going to hold his line though. It's going to compromise it though coming out of the corner. This might give an opportunity to Sabo, but Sabo can't get the run. Lawson's able to hold on to the position.
This charge continues, and Dunstall's going to be under a lot of pressure here in a second because he is absolutely flying out there in second in that Red Bull livery. Hard to miss. How do you see Dunstall trying to defend this here, Adam? Because it's going to be difficult.
Well, I'm not sure he's going to have to because Lawson and Sabo both had trouble through turn one getting out into that AstroTurf. So if they make that same mistake again, Dunstall's going to be free and clear to go through Maggots and Beckett's cleanly. Let's see what happens here through 1 and 2. Yeah, they're going to get onto that AstroTurf. Everybody's going to get onto the AstroTurf. Everybody's going to manage to hang on to it there. So all three of them. Lawson now looking to the inside here as we enter the Maggots and Beckett sequence. Can he stay side by side? No, he cannot. He slips back into line. But here's Sabo with more momentum in the back. He's going to go wide and try and late apex it one more time. Lawson's going to brake hard on the apex of the final corner. Here we go, exiting now onto the straight. Sabo with a decent run, but Lawson covering him off on the inside.
Driving it down the right-hand side of the racetrack, trying to defend. Dunstall under a lot of pressure now. Sabo to the outside of Lawson. Lawson to the outside of Dunstall across the nose of Sabo, who goes to the middle, 3 wide. Lawson backs up third, but Sabo might have overcooked it, and he falls back behind him as Lawson gets to run out of the corner. Now he's doing it all with Dunstall once again. Into the chicane. Can he swoop around the outside here?
The answer is yes to that. Lawson with a fantastic move to get himself into the lead of the race. What great driving from these top 3 as they went 3 wide into one of the scariest corners on the circuit. But Sabo and Dunstall are not done. Lawson still under attack here as they head towards the bridge sector.
Back up the inside comes Dunstall. Sabo tries to follow suit. Lawson gives him room, but it doesn't quite work out. Here comes Matt Stevens to the inside of Sabo. Still, door-to-door out of the bridge they go. Left side of the racetrack, the inside for Sabo. Stevens can't complete it.
Contact behind them.
Aaron Lobb gets turned around. That was contact with Alex Purley. As Sabo bobs a massive wide at the next corner and loses out to Lawson and Stevens.
It's all cracking off now. These drivers, no holds barred. This may be only an 8-point paying out race, but these drivers drive it like it's the full 100 points. But Dunstall currently leads with Lawson in second. Sabo trying to hold on to third from Stevens, who's right in behind him. But look at this, Lawson looking to the inside, possibly through 1. No, he decides better of it and backs it out. Are they all going to go into the AstroTurf again? The answer is absolutely.
Stevens keeps it on the racetrack and keeps the momentum over Sabo, who rejoins sideways almost into his left door, just about held it.
Oh!
He can't cap it. Sabo with dirt on his tyres. The car does not grip up. Where does he rejoin? He rejoins in control, thankfully. Back where he left, but going to have a slowdown from that. That's the issue. He's running wide at turn 1. The tyres get dirty and there's no grip.
Well, that's going to bring Stevens back into it. He's being followed closely by Alistair Hawkins. Liam Larson up ahead trying to look on Sam Dunstall. Once again, it's all cracking off here. Sabo's paid off. He has not quite paid off his slowdown. Now he has. He's going to get back on the up ahead of Hawkins. Hawkins is going to look to the inside of the corner here, being followed by Alex Pirlia. And this is going to get very tight between those three drivers. Pirlia looking to the inside of Sabo. Sabo says, no, thank you. And they're almost going to go three right into the corner here. And a little bit of a bump from behind from Taylor Cockerton, who decides to join the battle as well. Sabo's going to hold on to that, but now side by side between Pirilla Hawkins and Taylor Cockerton, 3 wide.
And still they battle. Towards the bridge we come. Hurley on the inside will prevail. And Hawkins going to have to watch out for Cockerton. And Thompson now trying to get by as well. They sort themselves out. Will run single file down the bridge.
And Dunstall's made a mistake. He's out of the lead now. It was a mistake into the final couple of moments go. So has Lawson. Lawson's out into the grass. And here comes Dunstall to the inside of Stevens. A late move. Everything's cracking off here. Sabo's going to try and follow it through. Dunstall's not done making that move yet, though. Sabo still on the inside here of this corner. Dunstall, can he hold on the outside? No. Sabo's going to be able to track out wide and put the block on him. Dunstall going to have to fall in line here as they go back onto the front stretch.
I'll start using that saying that you use. It's cracking off. Here comes Dunstall. Fighting back on Stevens again. Sabo tried to move as well, but he couldn't find a way through. Side by side through turn 1. Dunstall still on the inside. All the way out to the apron goes Stevens, and it works out for him nicely.
That's going to be 15 incidents that you have to count on your card if you're going to do that every lap. So these drivers definitely going to have to do some math to make sure they don't get disqualified here. But Liam Lawson, with such a big field, is already to the back of the field. He's got Peter Vandonovich up ahead of him that he's going to have to try and pass, and then Paul Smith. But this might give him an opportunity for some draft that might pull him away from Matt Stevens in second.
I'll help you out. It's Vidanovic. Vidanovic. Actually races in 1986 here in Australia. Adam in New Zealand. Does pretty well in that series too, so another real-world driver out here on the sim.
Unfortunately not having the best of days today, but Liam Lawson able to snake up in behind him. But look at this battle for third still cracking off. That was Dunstall blocking off Pirlia there as Sabo still trying to chase after Stevens for that second spot. Here they come trying to make their way past that lap traffic. This is going to be interesting. This Paul Smith in the 38th spot. They're able to do so, but contact actually between Stevens and Sabo as they're trying to battle for that second position. Dunstall looking on in the 5th position behind. Oh, wow. Pirlia with a very late move to the inside of Dunstall, able to make that stick. He's going to be on the inside for the next corner. They're bumping and banging fenders here.
2 by 2 into the final corner. Dunstall and Hawkins on the inside. Purley and Cockerton out of the corner. Dunstall prevails, but Cockerton prevails on the outside of Hawkins. Pretty close between Stevens and Sabo as well. Lawson is loving this.
He is. Look at that. Sabo trying to duck to the inside there on one. Thinks better of it. But wow, it is very tight there. Purely actually getting a little bit into the back of Dunstall as they go through the corner. Everyone able to, well, almost everyone able to stay out of the AstroTurf this time around. Now they get into the complex portion that sets them up for the long straight. This sector is very complicated, and it's one where you can make a lot of mistakes and lose a lot of time. Stevens not great through that sector. Sabo with a great run out of the corner, but he's held up a little bit by Stevens. He's going to look to the outside anyway, but this bad run is going to make them susceptible to Dunstall behind him. But Dunstall didn't get a great run either, so the drafting train is in effect here. Lawson up ahead, drifting wide for the corner. Stevens is going to take the inside here as Sabo's going to try and do the over-under here, but Stevens is at the apex. A little bit of contact between the two of them. Here they go into the next corner. Let's see where Sabo decides to go here. He looks to the inside. Stevens blocks it off a little bit late into the braking zone. Stevens is going to overshoot Sabo with an opportunity.
Runs wide as he rejoins. Sabo goes around the outside of him, and here comes Dunstall. Not quite close enough, but look up here at the next corner. Gonna be close enough to make a lunge up the inside here with 9 laps to go next time by. Shows the nose, here he goes.
There he goes, Stevens is gonna give it to him, Dunstall, and Stevens able to get through without losing too much speed, but Pirelli is still looking for a great opportunity right in, tucked in behind them. This is how close and good this racing is getting. Here comes Pirelli to the inside. Stevens, oh, major contact with that left front. Oh no, and they make more contact. That is Pirelli to the outside of the track.
Maybe a drifter, but that's not where you want to be drifting, Pirelli, unfortunately. Replay on screen. And it just all came to a head up here through the final sector of the racetrack, through the stadium section. Up the inside of Stevens, just hip-checked him, and as he did, got hit from behind and spun back out to the right.
You know, I don't think any of that was intentional. I think it was just the speed differential from that little bit of a hip check made it difficult for the car behind, which was, I believe it was Dunstall, from holding up there and trying to keep from getting into the back of him. But we're taking a look at P2. This is between Sabo and Dunstall. They're still fighting it out as Lawson up ahead is 1.5 seconds adrift in the lead.
Yeah, he is flying, isn't he? Sabo and Dunstall still scrapping it out. Remember, these guys are going to be inverted for race 2, so Lawson will start from 10th, Sabo from 9th if it stays the way it is, and so 4th until the top 10 are completely switched around. And it's that race that pays out. Now, James Watson, championship leader, he's back in 10th. So he's looking at a potential pole for race 2 here, which could bode well for his championship.
Yeah, Ryan, I was about to ask you, at what point do you think that strategy play is going to start to come into factor here? We're hitting 18:40 now left on the clock, and James Watson's sitting pretty in that 10th position. Remember that this race only pays out 8 points. The next one pays out 100 for the win. So you think James is just sitting back here thinking strategy?
Well, the last 3 rounds, he's qualified 10th and said, I 100% intended that starting pole, but he didn't qualify there this time. But I think he'll definitely be trying to finish 10th this time in race 1. Darren Lobbin, Hines, just up in front of him as well. He's got a big train of cars behind. He's not very comfortable, though.
No, he's going to have to make up a lot of... He's going to have to keep pushing to try and stay in that 10th position, but if he pushes too hard, he gets into Loeb and Hine up ahead of him. So, yeah, like you said, not in a comfortable spot at all for our championship leader.
The gap's down to 1.4, so, I mean, he's not pulling away at a massive rate. When Sabo and Dunstall are single file, they're keeping pace with Lawson pretty well.
That's definitely true. Lawson not able to pull away that much from them. The gap has maintained, like you said, at about 1.4, 1.5 for the last couple laps. So maybe Dunstall and Sabo are, well, I guess Dunstall has decided to work together with Sabo to try and push him up to Lawson. We'll see whether that comes into effect as they both get into the AstroTurf a little bit. Wow, that was Matt Stevens going very wide through the corner behind them.
Oh, Sabo. The attitude on that car through Beckett's is... I don't know if that's controlled or he's slightly out of control every time he goes through there, but the rear end of that car is stepping out.
If you don't think you can have fun racing these slower vehicles, you think again. These are so much fun to drive, especially when you're right on the ragged edge like these drivers are. Look at Dunstall and Sabo. Dunstall, once again, not taking the opportunity to pass. So I think he is trying to push Sabo up ahead. But if Sabo keeps losing, if he keeps burning off that front right, he's going to start losing a little bit of time. And Lawson, but they've closed it in. It's down about 4/10 from the last time we checked.
If Dunstall wants to be smart, he doesn't try to attack. And he just reassures Sabo, and Sabo doesn't have to defend, because if they do that, they start to lose time. Right now, with Sabo not defending and Dunstall not attacking, they're able to capture leader. Stevens will play a part in this as well by not attacking back there in 4th. And once they catch up, then they can start battling and engulf their race leader in it. If they Let him break away. Could be drama as Sabo makes a mistake there. Cost him a couple tenths of a second.
Yeah, when you're that driver sitting in that third position, if you're Dunstall at this moment, you're thinking to yourself, Sabo, you got to stop making mistakes, man. We have opportunities here, but if we keep making those mistakes, I'm going to have to pass you because you're not as fast as I am. And we've heard this talk on team chatter in racing series all over the world for a long time, and now these two guys aren't on a team. So don't expect Dunstall to wait quite as long as a teammate would behind a slower car if he thinks that the leader's getting away.
Out in the AstroTurf at Dunstall, Stevens went a step further, went to the outside of the AstroTurf. Still, they don't spin from it, but Lawson edged out the gap. It was down to 1.1 for a moment. It's back out to 1.6 now. So it's continuing to just open and close at the moment, depending on where they are on the racetrack and if any of them make a mistake. If Lawson does make a mistake, though, if he accidentally cuts one of the corners too much, or runs wide at a bad corner and gets a slowdown, that's all it takes, and he'll be right there on the front bumper and probably behind, in fact, Sabo, if he gets a slowdown.
Yeah, and Jonesy, our championship leader's in a little bit of trouble in that 10th spot. He's actually just gotten passed by Warren Crowther for that 10th position, so he's going to have to fight him.
Championship rival right there.
For sure. So these guys all battling for that championship pole for this final payout race here. So here we are joining the battle now with Warren Crowther in 11th, in 10th rather, with Brock Traynor in 11th, and James Watson has fallen back to 12th. James is going to have to stay on board with this. Here we go, Brock Traynor looking to the inside here. Ooh, it's going to be very tight between Crowther and Traynor, but here comes Watson with a decent run as Traynor gets a little bit loose coming off the corner. Here comes Leon Fox to try and take advantage as well. So move Watson back up to 11th with Crowther in 10th now.
Oh, that was close to contact. Ends up just on the outside of the curb there, and behind them, sideways, drifting around the apex of the corner. Cullingford was that. Who was it actually? Sorry,
Matthew
Adam?
Smith, I believe, yeah.
No, it was Smith. Yeah, it was Smith.
Yeah, so Smith getting a little bit of contact there from Traynor, who was trying to save himself from the contact that had happened with him as well. Well, Matt Smith is not done taking those excursions off track. He's decided that the off-ramp is the fastest way to get onto the freeway, so he's still hanging out here behind Dunstall and Sabo, who are
if it's the off-ramp and he's trying to get on the freeway, that wouldn't be very fast, would it? Or was that the point you were trying to make?
We do have these weird junctions in the U.S. that are kind of weird off-ramp, on-ramp hybrid things that get really complicated, but okay, here we go. Dunstall to the outside of Sabo.
I've seen photos of those. I want no part in that.
Yeah, they're called suicide junctions for a reason, but Dunstall and Sabo trying not to make a suicide junction of their cars right now as they battle for that second position. I think Dunstall's done waiting for Sabo to speed up, but that being said, once again, they've gained in
frustrating
time on. Yeah, it's really frustrating.
They brought it to a second, and then they started battling. Guys, focus on the big picture. Win the race.
Win the race, or decide you're going to fall back and get a better start for next week. That's the thing that confuses me about Dunstall's moves here. Sitting in third, he's better set up for the next race, and he's not losing that many points. Only a -1 point deduction for being one position back of Sabo, but here he comes to the inside of the corner. He's going to dive late on Sabo here, make Sabo go around the outside. He's going to lose them more time to the leader up ahead, but Dunstall well secured on the inside.
I'm just having a look at the championship picture. So Lawson's in 9th. He's only just within a chance of taking the title. He picked up 10 points a pole, so that still puts him 9th. Plus 8 points for a win. Watson won't get any. Neither will Crowther. Neither will anyone else to start the top 10. So If he wins race 2 and Watson, Smith, Crowther, Thompson, Hawkins, Fraser, Midgley, Stevens, and Ross have poor races, he could win the championship.
That's definitely a factor that we got to be thinking about, because while we're watching this intense battle for that second position, and that's to try and get up to the lead, the fact of the matter is that at the end of the day, it's that man in 10th right now, Crowther, who's made his way back there, who currently is sitting pretty.
Well, there is Crowther. Gap to lead, 11.3 seconds. And looking at a pole for race number 2, if he stays the way it is. Easier said than done. Back up the front. Dunstall and Sabo are side by side. And Matt Stevens is right there as well. Sabo might lose 2 spots here. And just like that, the gap is 2 seconds now to Lawson.
Bump draft from Stevens. They're battling too hard, Jones. They're losing so much time. They've almost lost another half second to the leader just in that time frame alone. Look at this, Dunstall trying to get to the inside, Sabo blocking it off. They're losing so much time here. Here comes Zach Thompson looking to make this a four-way battle now for the position. These guys, I think, are just having fun out here at this point.
Yeah. Most certainly, final race of the season. Most of these guys, not a factor in the championship. Sabo gets back through, and they're all watered up. 3 seconds off your race lead. Wow, that opened up that lap. And this goes all the way back to Thompson in 6th place, this battle now. There's the gap. There's Lawson as he goes off shot. And then here comes the rest of them as Dunstall looks up the inside at turn 1. Sabo switches back on him. Bit of contact, nose to tail, but he gets the momentum and a helping hand from Stevens. And he comes right back at him. Into Maggots we go. Can he get this one done? Side by side, and Maggots and Beckett sliding across in front. 2 tyres on the grass, and he slides off to the infield.
That's got to be Sabo off. He's going to have a slowdown. He's going to have to pay. So Stevens is going to... Oh, man. Sabo coming back across the track. He's going to have to pay the slowdown at some point. But Stevens getting his exit compromised because of that. Cockerton is going to be up the inside. And here comes Thompson in the green car, tucking in behind them. They're all... Oh, this is going to be 4 wide into the corner. Surely not. Okay, they back out of it. Stevens is going to retain 3rd.
That was almost terrifyingly disastrous, but they luckily all backed out of it. Sabo shows the nose. Looks like he's cleared whatever slowdown he got. Dunstall be trying to run away from these guys while they battle behind him. He's got a margin of about 9/10 of a second. It's 4.3 to his race leader.
I mean, it worked for Lawson, so what's to say it's not going to work for Dunstall to try and just pull away while the guy's battling behind him. Oh, and Liam Lawson's actually getting held up by Paul Smith up ahead of him. Significant contact, and he actually, he's going to... He
sends him.
He decides to tell Smith what for there. And you'll see it here. He gets held up under the bridge, and he actually gives him a little bit of a bump there, and then gets held up once again coming through the corner. And he decides, I'm just not braking anymore. Well, back behind them is still 6th and 7th. They're side by side between Cockerton and him right now as they go through. Jaden trying to hang it loose on the inside as they get out into the AstroTurf. Everybody having trouble there. That's Darren Loeb, who's on his recovery drive, tucked in behind them with Alistair Hawkins behind them as well. They're going to go side by side. Ooh, contact! More contact! They're going to go very side by side through Maggots and Beckett's. That was almost disastrous there. Cockerton able to come out ahead in the 6th spot.
This could be one of the most crazy nights of racing we've seen as the final night comes and all the drivers just let loose. So much contact, so much side-by-side racing today. It's been fantastic.
It has for sure, and it's just not letting up at all. Cochran able to still hold on to that position from the inside. Very loose there. Whoa, that's going to be Jaden crossing over here. Darren Loeb looking onto the Lego machine. Wow, that's going to be very deep for Jaden. He's actually going to block out Cochran. Oh, man, Loeb just sneaking through. Take a look at this replay and just take a look at how close this was. These guys, and wow, that was just a very deep dive for Jaden right there. And Cochran nowhere to go either, and Loeb just taking advantage of that opportunity.
So, P2, Dunstall and Stevens, the gap still sits at 9/10 of a second. It's slightly evened out and calmed down between all these guys. Stevens ahead of Sabo there on screen. You can see from our drone cam how the gap will start to shrink down this main straight as they disappear behind that pit wall, unfortunately. 2 to go for these drivers too, by the way, so the race reaching its conclusion before we invert the top 10, ready for race number 2. Sabo and Dunstall both using the AstroTurf again.
And I assure you that is not the fastest way around the track, but it is very tempting to try and get out there. And take a look at this. Liam Lawson, though, he has opened up the gap 4.2 seconds. And it's going to be white flag next time by for Lawson as he goes down our long straight here. Liam Lawson just very, very strong. As he's leading right now, 4.5 seconds, so he's even stretching the gap even more, Ryan.
Comfortable for him. Hasn't had the challenges of drivers like Payne and Van Gisbergen like we've seen over the past few rounds come to play. So he's been able to walk away with it after getting by. It was a good battle early on, but once he pulled that gap, he was able to really walk away with it. Race 2 might be a different story from though, because he's going to have to start from 10th.
Well, Jaden had his moment with that top 5 position, but he's still having a moment here as he's battling with Warren Crowther, our championship leader right now, for the 10th position. Warren is trying to hang on to 10th because he's got, oh, look at this, Jaden with some significant toe issues on the front of that car, now dropping down to 12th spot. He's just trying to hang on to the car at this point, and now, oh no, a missile! That's going to take out our championship leader!
No,
Crowther off, Trainer off.
So, Watson, the leader, escaped, but his rival in Crowther did not. Replay here. There's Calamity missing the marker on the grass, couldn't pull it up. Crowther completely blindsided.
Fortunately, Crowther's still racing, but he's significantly down the order in 16th position. So unfortunately, that's going to be a tough break for him going into the final race. But Lawson has taken the white flag now as he meets up with traffic.
4.9 seconds, the gap for him. A couple laps cars in front. Shouldn't be of too much worry. The battle behind still hot between Dunstall and Stevens, who almost tagged the left rear into Maggots.
This Sabo trying to get a good exit off the corner, but Stevens actually gets the best exit out of the 3 of them, so he's going to be able to gain on Dunstall, but Sabo getting the benefit of the double draft here. Let's see whether or not he's got anything. Remember, this is the white flag lap, so these drivers are going to be going tooth and nail here. There goes Stevens breaking out. Sabo's going to look possibly for the 3 wide around the outside. No, he actually makes a little bit of contact with Stevens, but look at that. Dunstall strong on the inside. He's going to wash out a little bit, still give Stevens just enough racing room here. They're going to go side by side into the next corner.
Still door to door on the wrong side of the track for Dunstall, though. Can he get back across? Oh, he tried to cover off Stevens, but Stevens still had the overlap. Sabo on the outside, trying to find a way through. Switches to the very inside of the track as in front of him, Stevens doors Dunstall out of the way. Sabo's going to get hit as he sneaks on by. And now here comes Thompson. But he won't quite pull it off on Dunstall as Sabo continues to work on the rear bumper of Matt Stevens. Out front, Liam Lawson ahead of the drama out of the final corner as Dunstall gets escorted out to the grass. Liam Lawson will be your race winner for race 1 of the main event of the 2K Cup on the Global SimRacing Channel.
Matt Stevens will come in second, Sabo coming in third, Thompson coming in fourth, and Dunstall says, thank you very much. I'll start a little bit ahead of you guys in the next race coming home in the 5th. Ooh, a little bit. Well, actually, I think he might come home a little bit further behind. Oh.
Come on, land it, land it, land it, land it. No! Oh, what a shame. So, as the race concludes, and we have for race 2, we will go to a break here on the Global SimRacing Channel. When we come back, we'll go racing for the second race, the final race of the evening. Welcome back to the Global SimRacing Channel. Our coverage of the 2K Cup almost reaching its end with one more race to come this evening. The second race of the main event, fourth race of the night in total. And we've seen some pretty crazy action, not least of which has come from Sam Dunstall, who started on the pole for race 1 and ended up back in 5th after being involved in what was a truly crazy race-long duke out with the likes of Sabo and Stevens, Thompson, and all them, who we believe we've got ready for an interview in just a moment's time. There we go. Sam Dunstall, man, you had a crazy race out there.
Yeah, it was full of action from start to finish. I can blame myself for that start, or horrible. I'm sure it was all over TV. Horrible
Yep.
off the line, but
That
I
definitely.
got better from there, and some smart driving meant we could kind of drive away from that pack in the mid race. But yeah, they obviously caught us by the end.
We saw you and Sabo sort of catching Lawson at times, and then you'd start to fight, and the gap would go back. Were you trying to let Sabo go and catch so you could potentially fight for the lead, or were you just trying to get by Sabo?
No, we were trying to. I was trying to work with him a bit. He got a bit loose a few times, and I could see he was kind of getting a bit flustered. So I thought I could cease the moment, but obviously I couldn't, and I couldn't quite pull it off, and it kind of ended badly for both of us because then Stevens would catch and that kind of thing. So yeah, it was a bit of a cycle, but it's all right. Learn from it.
Because you finish in the middle of the pack, you start middle of the pack again in terms of top 10, I should say. So you're starting 6th for this one. You're ahead of the likes of Lawson and co. Do you reckon you can get up there and fight for the lead?
Yeah, so I'm hoping for that in front of those guys that I was battling. So that's a good start for us. I think make quick work of the guys in front is the key, and kind of try and run away is what we want to do. But it's, of course, easier said than done.
And maybe go practice those starts out there, and you're not 5 minutes left and blow them up, eh?
Yeah, I might go for the balk tactic rather than the light them up. But yeah, cheers.
Thanks for joining us. Best of luck for the last half of the evening.
Thank you.
So, Adam, race 2 coming up, just the same as race 1, but as I said, Lawson Stevens, 1st and 2nd, they're off 10th and 9th.
Yeah, and that's going to make things very interesting to see because we have actually Leon Fox who's going to jump up to the pole, which will be interesting to see how he handles the start. We haven't had a good start from our leader so far tonight, even in the last race that we had last session. So it's going to be fascinating to see whether or not the leader can get a good start tonight on our final race. This is the 100-point paying race.
Yes, this is basically going to decide who our champion will be at the end of the season. James Watson's been leading pretty much all the way through, but he's going to have his work cut out here because there's an opportunity for Lawson to pick up a whole host of points, and he might not be able to recover enough to clinch that lead. Of course, Warren Crowther still in there as well, along with, Matt Stevens, who's been fast. Alistair Hawkins is up inside the top 10, along with Stevens. Good news for Watson is he's starting off 2nd here, so he's in the best spot for it. Still got 3 minutes left in practice here, though.
Yeah, I see a couple drivers out there practicing their starts, and a couple drivers just practicing getting through turn 1 without hitting that AstroTurf, which we saw was a chronic problem for quite a few of our drivers towards the pointy end of the field last race, but they're going to be starting in the middle of the pack. And with everything as chaotic as it has been recently, I would expect turn 1 to not be quite as kind to these drivers going into this first lap. I think people are going to be a little bit more eager to do side-by-side battling with each other going into Maggotts and Beckett's on this first lap.
Yep, I think you're right about that. I think we're going to see pretty crazy second race for this split for the 4th race of the evening in total. And of course, there are some more seasons coming up for the 2K Cup. Check out their Facebook page at 2K Cup. If you want to find out more about those, we'll be broadcasting the final race of both mini seasons. They're 3 rounds in length. We're broadcasting at Bathurst and Daytona. Plus, in August, they have a 6-hour Enduro at Spa coming up as well to follow up their very successful event at Bathurst, which was the last week. You can find the replay right here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Make sure you check and subscribe if you want to see more iRacing action, and like us on social media too at GSRC_Graham on Instagram, GSR Channel on Twitter, and Global SimRacing Channel on Facebook, so you can find out about all our upcoming broadcasts and other little nuggets here and there, whatever the social media guy comes up with every now and then, and mainly stay up to date with all our broadcasts. Hey, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, 6 hours at Spa has got to feel a little bit like the Daytona 500 in the MX5, because
I hope that's in a Porsche, by the way.
The amount of drafting that you're going to be doing around there, it's going to be very fascinating to see how these drivers handle 6 hours. But of course, with 6 hours comes pit stops, and that can break up any sort of draft battles that you have as well.
Yeah, well, that's in the Porsche, the Enduro event, of course. So, a little bit faster car, but I hope they've got about 1,000 incident points ready for Spa, because that place chews through them.
It does. I don't think the 40 they have allotted here would last the drivers very long at all. Well, Ryan, as the seconds close down here, what are your thoughts on going into this race? Do you think that we're going to see the championship clinched by our current championship leader, or do you think that there might be a little bit of a shakeup at the front of the field?
You know, I'm not going to say a word, because I've cursed so many people, not only in this series, but many others. And frankly, I ain't messing with that championship. Either way, it's going to be a very interesting fight, and I can't wait to see how it all shakes out. As warm-up comes to its conclusion, and we can look at your starting grid here in the 2K Cup from Silverstone. Off the pole will be Leon Fox with James Watson starting from second. Alistair Hawkins lines up in third with Taylor Cochran to his outside. Darren Lobb and Sam Dunstall are on row 3, ahead of Zach Thompson and Antal Rafael Sabo. Matt Stevens and Leon Lawson starting 9th and 10th.
Mike Cullingfriend's going to start off 11th with Alex Perlia starting off 12th. And we have Jaden Hin, Matthew Smith, Warren Crowther, Brock Trainer, Craig Brock, Chris Simon, Nathan Anderson, and Justin Allen rounding out your top 20.
21st will be Wayne Losh, John Midgley starting next to him, Shane Edgar and Benjamin Adams on the 12th row of the grid. The red lights are going to come on, and we're going to go racing. As the green flag flies, and an even start from your top 4. Maybe a slightly better start for Leon, for James Watson, on the outside of the grid. Down into turn 1. Can he take that lead away? Side by side through turn 1. At the front, Fox will prevail, but still an overlap for Watson, with Hawkins and Cochran now closing in behind their 2x2 and approach to Maggots and Beckett's.
They're almost 3 wide as they approach Maggots, and Beckett's is very tight there, but Leon Fox is going to manage to prevail for the lead at the moment. James Watson tight in behind him with Alistair Hawkins. Oh no, Leon Fox is off!
That leaves Watson leading the race. Hawkins second, then Cochran. Look at this train. Sabo, Dunstall, Stevens, Lawson, Dunstall and Sabo are rubbing doors.
There goes Hawkins to the inside.
Sabo, contact.
Significant contact. Those two are 2 damaged MX5s at this point, with Hawkins now taking the lead over Watson. Look at Cochran trying to figure out a way to get by, and Sabo now in 4th. Oh man, it's tight up there.
Cochran can't get by Watson. Sabo slots into 4th. Stevens runs wide in 5th, and this may allow Lawson to get a run and get by him. He shows the nose, but he's got no pace. Look at the dive from Sabo. He can't pull it up, and he cleans up Watson, dents him off the track, and he's going to rejoin right there in front of Dunstall and behind Zach Thompson instead.
That was an opportunistic move from Sabo. It didn't end up working well. It worked out for him, but now he's got Cockton tucked up behind him. Matthew Stevens as well. Oh man, Cockton getting extremely loose coming up the corner. He's going to have to save it. Matthew Stevens nowhere to go now. That's going to be Dunstall up the inside of Lawson, and now Lawson's going to try and cross over. This is all cracking off behind Hawkins, who's out to a 2-second lead now.
Hawkins is loving this. So Sabo, 2nd with a big of a gap to Cockton in 3rd. Stevens all over him. In fact, 2 is outside now as they run down to the 1st quarter. Cockton will prevail on the inside of the track, but look at Lawson lurking in 5th place.
Oh no, that was Sabo who just went off
spun.
track. He's able to keep it out of the wall, but he has spun. But this is now the battle for 2nd place that's up in the front of this pack as they start snaking through Maggots and Beckets. It's very tight. Cockerton getting very upset. He's going to go to the wide outside of the track and manage to keep it out of everybody and keep it straight somehow. But now that's allowed Stevens to go up into the 2nd place with Lawson now looking on him. I don't even know where our championship points leaders are at this point in the race, but it is cracking off here at the lead.
Oh, hey!
Oh,
I think...
that was Corey Ross.
Turned. It was Ross. Got turned in a straight line. That's unlucky.
That's one way to put it. So let's find out what happens here. Looks like he
dumped.
Yeah, it looks like he was trying to come back across to the right side and cover off that run that was coming from behind him, and yeah, unfortunately, just gets sent to the outside.
Liam Lawson then in 2nd place now already on lap 2 of this race. Ahead of Matt Stevens in 3rd. Zach Thompson, Sam Dunstall, your top 5.
And Hawkins is just gone. Ryan, he's out to 3 seconds already, and we're just completing lap 2 now.
If anyone can catch him now, I reckon it's probably Liam Lawson, so watch out for this, because he will close him down over the course of this race, you would think. Fastest lap of the race that time from Alistair Hawkins, a 2:11.963. Take a look at the replay of what happened to Sabo from 2nd place when he was comfortably by himself here. It was good turn 1, he just lost it out on the AstroTurf. Take a look at this. This doesn't seem like Sabo. There it is. That's after he spun. Oh no, yeah, this is... yeah.
Wow, yeah, that's just a very late dive into the corner with major contact. That's what sent our team.
There's probably that damage that hurt him up at turn 1 too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, for sure.
There he is in 14th, trying to chase down Aaron Ivers for 13th. Damage to the front left of that car. Noticeable from the cockpit.
Yeah, he's losing pace on that straight line, but look at him try and swap over here. He's going to go to the inside now. Oh, wow, that's a spinning car up ahead of him. He might have an opportunity as they go 3 wide through the corner. Ooh, that was very close. That was actually Darren Lowe who's had trouble there, who just got a little bit loose coming through that sector. But look at this. He's not done yet. He's trying to challenge still. Whew. That was close between Sabo and Cockerton. Well, that wasn't actually Sabo. That was Ivers and Cockerton. Ivers almost chopping the nose off of Cockerton there as they went through the corner. But Cockerton now leads them all out in the 12th position with Sabo behind, Vodanovich behind him, and then Loeb and Watson close pursuit.
Look at this. P4 as well, getting intense as Thompson tries to fend off Hine and Dunstall. Side by side into Maggots. And that gap shut quickly.
Oh, contact from Dunstall to Hine. Wow, that was very hard contact. Dunstall, he's once again saying to Hine, it's time to go, mate.
Side by side, the long route round working there. That was beautiful. He pulled that up very nicely and found all the grip he needed out there on the outside of the track, and he gets it done down at the chicane, and now Dunstall trying to get a piece of the cake too.
Looks like Thompson's going to be able to cover him off here. Dunstall's going to have to back out of it a little bit. He might have an opportunity. He's going to try and get to the inside here as they go towards... Oh, this is very tight. Dunstall forcing his way to the inside as they get into this next corner here. He's going to be able to carry his speed through just a little bit here. Thompson may be able to get a better exit, but Dunstall able to secure that spot. Move Dunstall up to 5th.
The gap at the front is down to 0.6 of a second now. So Hawkins is starting to lose out, and Lawson is charging now in second place.
Lawson, you saw how strong he was in the last race, and he has definitely regained a lot of time. Now look how close he is. He's definitely setting up for the pass in the next couple of laps here on Hawkins. Just a little bit of a, well, let's actually stay here as this looks like this might be the pass opportunity for Lawson as he goes to the outside. What? He made that work? That was truly impressive. I'm not sure he's going to be able to hold it on the straight, but let's take a look at this. That is a move that never is going to work, and he makes it stick. It looks like Hawkins gave him the room there, but still, that is a four-wheel drift through Maggots and Beckett's in an MX5. That's some impressive stuff.
What a pass from Lawson, and now he will try to run away. Stevens is through into second place, and Hawkins is back to third now.
Yeah, Hawkins actually backed off on the straight to keep behind Lawson. So Stevens now has been able to slingshot by because he didn't have to back off at all and got the double draft. So Stevens now up into second. And so this is Lawson and Stevens who are now battling, and they've been battling for most of this race. So expect this battle to go to the end. And Ryan, a little bit of a points update. Matthew Smith actually had an incident about 2 laps ago where he went off track, so he's now down in the 30th position. So that's a major points contender who's relegated to some of those back marker positions now.
Look at this for P5 as well. That's pretty close at the moment between Dunstall and Thompson. Crowther and Cullingford just back there as well. Dunstall trying to hold on, but he's going backwards at the moment in this one, isn't he?
Yeah, Dunstall's just not driving as well as I think he would like at this point, but trying to, yeah, like you said, trying to hang on to the back of the car ahead. But Zach Thompson is now being accompanied by Crowther and Cullingford as well as they try and close up to the back of that 5th spot.
Lap 6 of 16, so just a third over the race distance now. Under the sun at Silverstone. That's a first, isn't it?
I mean, there's clouds all around the track, but it sure seems like the track's being lit up very nicely. But the lead is actually about to change, I believe. Matt Stevens has a great run on Liam Lawson. He's going to try and take it all the way to the inside. So inside, it was out of our camera shot here. Matt Stevens to the inside here as they dive down into the corner. Stevens is going to be able to take over the lead here of the race. This is going to be the first time he's led today, but he gets a little bit loose on the exit. This brings back Liam Lawson around the outside. Liam's going to have to be late on the brakes to try and make the move here on Stevens. Stevens late on the brakes as well. He's going to be able to hit the apex of the corner and retain the lead.
Great to see Stevens taking the fight to Lawson. Not making it easy for him, though, either of these guys. Lawson all over the back bumper, pushing him through the corner. He's going to have to defend up here because Lawson's right there. Stevens drives it down the middle of the racetrack and edges back to the racing line. Hoping the outside is the fastest way through here, which we've seen so far today. There's contact, and Stevens ends out in the grass. Hawkins lifted off to let him get back on the track, but that leaves Lawson out front again.
I guess you got to do whatever you need to do to win, but don't think that Stevens is going to forget about it. Racers have the memory of elephants, and he's going to be trying to get his trunk up there to the rear bumper of Lawson and maybe grab a hold a little bit and shake him around, say, I don't like that move. But here we go. Hawkins back into the fight now in third, only about half a second back. And Jaden Hine has actually been turning the fastest laps of this race, and he's now in fourth position, only about a second off the back of Hawkins, only about 2 seconds off of the lead. So he's definitely in this battle as well. You see him just back there in the back shots in that 10 car.
Here's Cullingford all over the back of Crowther here. Trying to take 7th place away. Battling hard, but Crowther doing a good job to fend him off. Here he goes up the inside. He got squeezed down to the inside, but he forced the issue. And on the brakes, he takes it away. Can Crowther fight back? Taps the brakes, try to get it turned in, but Cullingford gets the move done.
Calling for getting that move done fairly efficiently and fairly effectively as well. So looks like that's going to be him moving up a spot. So calling for it up to 7th, Crowther down to 8th position. So just falling back a little bit farther. Crowther just not with the race that he would have liked at this moment in time.
Still only 2 tenths between Lawson and Steven, and a second between your top 4, in fact, so it's still pretty close up at the front, pretend to go.
Yeah, and Jaden Hine is actually close up to the back of Alistair Hawkins as well, and so this makes things very interesting for these top 4 because Hine has been the fastest driver of the entire race for the last couple of laps, and so here he is up to the back of these guys. But he's been fast in clean air, so how is he going to be able to fare once he hits this traffic, especially traffic that is very, very, very intent on making sure he doesn't get blocked?
You can see how close they are from this shot, can't you? Was Hine puts in the fastest lap of the race there, a 2:10.9, blistering. He's flying. To Megas and Beckett's. You see them all taking slightly different lines. That probably might be a bit too tight. He might get a slowdown there.
We'll see. He's not backing out of it here as they get onto the straight. Hawkins got a good run as well, so this is going to be all 3 of them with fantastic runs on Lawson. It's going to be interesting. Look at this. Hawkins actually backs out of it a little bit. Hines going to duck to the inside of the corner. Looks like Hawkins is going to give it to him. So Hawkins realizing Hines is faster. Look at this. Lawson with a little bit of a mistake. Stevens is going to take advantage of that. Try and go around the outside of the corner as the sun comes back out full force on this track. Jaden Hine up to third position. Stevens challenging Lawson for the lead. Stevens is going to try the over-under here, but it's going to cross back and for a very long corner. But here comes Hine at the back of Stevens. Stevens with a decent exit off of the corner. Lawson drifting a little bit wide. Stevens has the opportunity here as they head towards the bridge section.
Let's see if that outside line works again. Stevens has to dart to the inside, and that causes Hine to jump on the brakes very quickly there. Came unsettled as he jammed on that brake pedal for a second. That was close.
Definitely was. Hines definitely looking on right now. He's less than 2/10 behind the leader. This is the tightest battle on track by a country mile for the lead of the race. This is for all 100 points that these guys are going to collect at the end of this thing. And this is all 4 top drivers with under half a second right now. Lawson still holding off Stevens here as they start to go through Maggins and Beckett's. Jaden Hine trying to get to the back of them. He's going to try and set them up here for the long straightaway once again. He's taking once again that aggressive line through Beckett's there. And now here we go onto the back straight. Hawkins with a decent run here on, Hine with a decent run here on Stevens. But he's going to have to deal with Stevens having that draft from Lawson. Lawson looks like a sitting duck here to these two guys, but the question is, can Hine do anything from the third position? Stevens down to the inside. He's going to make that move work on Lawson. Lawson trying to hold strong on the outside. Hine now trying to go on the inside, unable to do it as Lawson holds very well with that pace. He's going to look to the outside here. He doesn't have an opportunity to cross over, so he's actually going to just back off just a little bit, and they're all going to fall in line as they go back through.
Such good respect being shown amongst these drivers, isn't it? Being on a pretty good display of racecraft. Every time Stevens has a look for the lead, Lawson has something in response in terms of attack, and we'll see it again here as he gets up to his back bumper, and this time plays the waiting game. Doesn't go for the move at the next corner. He'll wait for a better opportunity.
Well, Lawson's waiting for a better opportunity. Hines trying to figure out his way by Lawson because he knows that Lawson is the real threat here because Lawson, oh wow, Hine getting very loose behind Lawson. He's able to hold that together and keep his pace up, but that was a sketchy moment there as Lawson almost gets into the back of Stevens. Here they go through the final corner. This is not a great opportunity to pass on the front straight, but we've seen Lawson make a move like that before. Lawson getting a little bit wide, actually. They're all going to go into the grass just a little bit. Hine with a decent run off of the corner, but nothing doing here as they head towards one.
Six laps to go here at Silverstone, and the top 4 are covered by a second as Lawson uses all of the trace track available to him and a little bit more on the exit of turn 1. Again, he gets to the back bumper and pushes Matt Stevens as they enter Maggotts and Beckett.
Interesting strategy, probably trying to get into under Stevens' skin, but look at that, Hine just with that really aggressive line through Beckett's. He's going to once again try and get that good run off. This is a carbon copy of what we saw last lap, but last lap it worked out for Stevens. This time, does Stevens block the inside? He sort of does. He's got still up a lane there, but Hine is going to take that opportunity. He's going to look towards the inside. He's going to try and take it. Lawson, Stevens left the door open, and Hine tried to dive through, but once again, Hine's going to be stuck on the inside with Lawson with a good run on the outside of that corner, able to hold him off.
I reckon Hine had 2 tires when he hit the brake pedal then on the grass. He was very fortunate he didn't get spun to the left because he could have taken out everyone there. That was very close, but luckily they all keep going and they live to see another few corners at least. If they stayed this close, whoever's leading out of Chapel in the final lap probably won't be leading by the end of the lap.
Yeah, but at the same time, Stevens was able to hold them off that lap, and I think Lawson could have done the same thing if he had the opportunity to.
Lawson,
the lap before.
Lawson went to the outside though, didn't he? He didn't go for the inside lane, which is still very open. Stevens didn't defend it as hard as he could have.
Yeah, but don't think for a second that Stevens is going to allow that to happen on the last lap. Stevens getting a little bit tight through, a little bit loose through that corner. Lawson taking advantage. Hine thought he might have an opportunity up the inside, unable to do anything with it. Hine definitely looking for a way past Lawson. He's going to take any opportunity Lawson gives him. And Stevens just up ahead, just trying to race his own race. He's going to go very wide out of that corner here, the final corner. So this is going to allow Lawson to have a good run. But once again, these drivers know better than to try something through one. Well, I say that, but here comes Lawson with a run. Would you look at that, for the first time in a long time, all four of the leaders managed to keep it out of the AstroTurf. Hine with a great run. He gives a little bit of a bump to Lawson here as they go into Maggots and Beckett's. Matt Stevens actually free and clear this time around. Hine with, wow, look at that. Lawson learning a little bit of something from Hine, taking that aggressive line through Beckett's. Here they come. Onto the backs, onto this straight here. It's going to be very interesting to see what Stevens does. He takes a much more aggressive blocking line down the inside this time.
Lawson to the outside again. Hine chasing. He backs out of it. Lawson can't quite get the run around the long rate at the top of the Hangar Straight. Hine right there with him, almost making contact. Hawkins has got a front row seat to this as Lawson almost into the left side of Stevens there. That was close. He's back to third now as Lawson.
I think Hines might have this, but he gets a bad... He doesn't get on the throttle quite early enough, so this allows Lawson to be strong on that, what is now the inside, going towards the bridge section, so Lawson just has to set it a little bit deep into this corner. Hine gets a little bit of tires on the grass, even more tires on the grass, manages to hang on to it. He's going to try and straighten these corners out and get a good run on Lawson as they head down towards the bridge. He's got the run, but just not enough to get an overlap. He has to stay in line. Look at the wheel working here for Hine. It is just, he's just sawing at it here as they go through the corners. This is some superior stuff from these guys as they drive so hard at the front of this pad.
Four laps to go for these drivers for this season as they come across the line once again on the front straight of the 2008 iteration of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit.
Oh, look at this. Lawson trying a very opportunistic move, but that actually upsets Stevens' line. Lawson's going to go around the outside. Unbelievably does it again. This is the second time this race, but he's going to lose a lot of speed here. Stevens now on the inside, but he's lost the draft. Jaden Hine now with the best opportunity of the race that he's had. He's going to have to make it 3 wide to make it happen, or is he going to stay in behind Stevens? He's going to try and push Stevens to the lead here. Bump draft here, down the straight. This is dangerous stuff. He now backs out of it, but Lawson on the outside is going to carry a lot of speed to the corner, but Jaden Hine with a great run on the inside. This is Hawkins now back into it. This is incredible stuff from these drivers up front.
The dark horse in all of this is Alistair Hawkins, because if they come into contact ahead of him, he will sail on by.
Lawson with not a great exit from one of those corners, so that allows Jaden Hine to get up there. This is the best opportunity Jaden has had. Now he's only got Matt Stevens up ahead of him. Look at this. Lawson now back to the inside here. Oh man, Hine almost into the grass once again. He's cutting it millimeters close, but that's what a professional driver would do. Lawson, squeezes him on the inside of the corner, but Lawson way off. Oh man, he manages to save it. Now that lead is gone into the distance, 1.1 seconds. Hine to the inside, contact with Lawson. Lawson manages to save it. He's going to drift out wide. Hine's going to drift out as well. They're all four-wheel drifting around the corner.
And with 3 and a bit laps to go, that makes the job very easy for Stevens if he can keep that gap. He's got 1.4 seconds back to Lawson, who's finally got himself clearly ahead of Hine now.
All right, at this point, these drivers need to work together if they want that lead back. They're going to have to push each other or draft or do the slingshot draft passes with each other to get back up to Stevens, because Stevens has been fairly quick all day and Lawson has been fighting hard with Hine. Stevens actually decides to take that off ramp we were mentioning earlier and manages to retain a little bit of that lead, but he does lose 2/10 doing it. Lawson and Hine close in behind with Hawkins looking on still.
P12 fight has been alive for quite some time between Kokodin, Sabo and Vidanovic. Moment, Sabo in the middle of the sandwich after being towards the front early on, but falling back to this group.
Oh man, it is very tight between these guys for sure. Cockerton trying to hold on to it, but oh, look at this. Vidanovic trying to make it 3 wide here as they go through the middle. Sabo trying to hold it strong on the outside, just a little bit too deep. Ends up scrubbing too much speed off at those front tires. Cockerton able to slot right back in front of him. Whoa. He tries to do it again around the outside. He's able to hold on to the spot this time. But Cockerton trying to be strong on the outside around this corner. Vidanovic looking on these two. They both are down on speed. Here we come up to the bridge section. Vidanovic nowhere to go. He's going to have to pick someone to bump draft. He picks Cockerton. Here they go, bump drafting into the corner, and now onto the brakes hard. Sabo, jeez, he just slings it around the outside of the corner. He gets a little bit loose, major contact between Cockerton, but Cockerton able to hold on to it. Vidanovic able to save it as well. That puts Sabo behind them. Cockerton 12th, Vidanovic 13th, Sabo 14th.
The gap down to half a second now between Stevens and Lawson. So the Red Bull Junior is chasing down the Sim Racer now. Hine is coming with him. He's 9 cents back as well. Hawkins only 1.6 drift. I mean, the top 10 is so close. It's only 11 seconds between them all, which is much smaller than we've seen every other race this season. So the overall competitiveness of everyone's really improved tonight. I think the battling at the front is helping to close them all up, though. Here we go. They're under a blanket again.
Hine just has such an understanding of the Maggots and Beckett sequence that the other drivers do not. He can gain so much time there, but look at Lawson off of the corner. He's got such fantastic pace down this back straight. He's going to have to take an opportunity. Nope, he decides to bump draft Stevens. Is he going to try and push him into the corner, maybe upset his braking? Let's find out. No, he ducks to the outside here. Hine to the outside as well. Going to try and carry speed to the corner. Has to hold up, has to brake because of Lawson on the apex. It upsets him a little bit. These guys under a blanket, but Hine very wide through the corner as he definitely had his racing line upset there.
It's gonna come down to the final lap. There's a lap car just in front, and he should get out of the way of these guys without being a factor in this. Sole car by himself, not battling anyone.
Well, the real question is, Ryan, is he going to give a draft to Stevens at any point that allows him to stay ahead of Lawson and Hine? Stevens well ahead as they go into the bridge section here, so this might give an opportunity. It's going to be white flag at the line this time for Stevens, who currently leads over Lawson, Hine, and Hawkins, with Dunstall 3 seconds back.
Through the stadium section for the penultimate time today. Lawson, a slight mistake on an entry, it looks like. No, he just sets himself up for the exit as he slides his way out of the corner. Still, that lapped car in front could give a critical slipstream to Stevens on this final lap, which may decide the race. One more time around here at Silverstone as Lawson almost out into the grass to the final corner. He needs to nail it through turn 1. Through Maggots and Beckett's and Chapel. It's all crucial for these guys now. He closes up through the first corner.
Yeah, Ryan, I'm afraid that this lap car is going to affect this because they're catching him through the Baggett and Beckett sequence and onto the straight that really means so much in this race. Jaden Hine with such aggressive moves through the Maggots and Beckett sequence. Here he comes through the corners. And here we go with Liam Lawson looking on the back of Matt Stevens. Matt Stevens is going to have an opportunity to draft off of Shane Edgar. Shane is going to have to decide where to go here. He picks the middle of the road. He's going to actually head to the left. But look at this. This gives the draft to Matt Stevens. He's got an opportunity to draft off of him. Liam Lawson is going to look to the outside. He's going to look to the inside, maybe a late dive. No, he's going to stay exactly where he is. Jaden Hine, nowhere to go. He's going to have to stay in line as well.
Well, will that decide it and keep it in Stevens' favour? Is there another opportunity around the corner for Lawson? On the brakes into the chicane. I think up here might be the last opportunity for him to get this done, just before the bridge section. The exit here is going to be critical. It's a pretty good exit for Lawson, but similarly so for Matt Stevens. Here they come, towards the bridge, towards the stadium section. On the final lap, Stevens doesn't defend. Lawson sits in behind. Here he comes, he's got to run. Stevens has to move it over, and Lawson gets to the outside. Under the bridge they go, side by side on the final lap, and Lawson's up the inside now. Here comes Hine as well. Stevens throws it in, too committed, he slides, and Liam Lawson into the lead of the race. Hines follows him through in second. Stevens fights back with the crossover move, but it means that Liam Lawson, on the final lap of the race, skies on by, and he will go back to back and win both races at Silverstone. What a race!
Phenomenal race from these leaders. Amazing driving for sure. We're going to take a look at Alex Puria, who really could not make the move, unfortunately, to try and retain that and trying to get up to the 9th position on Aaron Ivers. We're going to take a look at P15. This is Liam Fox trying to hold off Bramwell King, who we saw be strong last race.
King will be 16th. Probably a night of what could have been for him.
P21 as they're going through the final corners. This is Callum Pratt leading Graham Wallace and Josh Cole. Looks like Pratt has it secured in the bag as he exits the corner. All he has to do is not drift wide, and he manages to do so. And he's going to be able to hang on to that 21st position with Graham Wallace in 22nd. Josh Cole losing 22nd, dropping down to 23rd on the final lap as well.
Let's go to a break here on the Global SimRacing Channel, and we'll come back with some interviews with your race winners. Welcome back to the Global SimRacing Channel, our coverage resuming after a thrilling finale to the race and to the season of this inaugural iRacing Sunday League. The easier results, Liam Lawson gets it done again. Jaden Hine coming home in second. Matt Stevens lost out on the final lap and went from first to third. Fourth place, Alistair Hawkins, Sam Dunstall in fifth. Zach Thompson and Mike Cullingford, sixth and seventh. Crowther, Ayers and Purley were your top 10.
And we have Wayne Losh, who comes home in 11th, with Peter Vodanovich coming home in 12th. Then James Watson's going to be 13th, with Antal Rafael Sabo coming home in 14th. Liam Fox is 15th. Bromwell Kink's going to come home in the 16th position, with John Midgley in 17th. Neil Gardner, 18th. Nicholas Lowndes, 19th. And then Matthew Smith, second place in the championship, comes home in 20th today.
21st, Callum Pratt, Graham Wallace, Josh Cole, Marcus Little, Darren Lobb, 24th and 25th. Jonathan Turner, Brock Trainer, Craig Brock, Benjamin Adams, and Aidan Lamont were your top 30.
We have Paul Smith at 31st. Then we get to our lap down vehicles. That's going to be Shane Edgar, Corey Ross. Then 3 laps down is Taylor Cockerton, who had a major incident on the second to last lap of the race. Elliot Andrew, Nathan Anderson, Matthew Griffin, Chris Simon, Mark Mallard, Jaden Mason, and then also our non-finishers today, Justin Allen, Paul Ottaway, Zach Blinko, and James McComb.
So with the results done, we'll begin our interviews here with Jaden Hine, who...
Hello, how are you?
Hello, how are you? Good job. P2, final lap.
Yeah, I'm so, it was so, it was such a fun battle at the front with Lawson and Stevens. It was, the hanger straight, we're always trying to, was a slipstream, so it was always a battle trying to figure out where to place my car. Like, I think with me being in third, I actually had the best toe of them all, but I had to choose when I wanted to if I wanted to stay back or if I wanted to try have a go. I think there was times I did have a go at Lawson, and he just had more momentum on the outside, so that didn't work. So, I thought, okay, for the last couple of laps, if Lawson tries to move, I'll follow him through, and I followed him through. I got P2. That was so good.
It was good fun racing with guys like Liam Lawson and stuff.
Yeah, they're really good. And I know that they could do a lot of the real life stuff. I've only been hanging out on the Sims. I've been getting into iRacing since a month or two ago, so I'm just trying to, I guess, make my way up through the racing hierarchy, if you want to call it that. So maybe you'll see me in the real car somewhere in the future. I don't know how long it'll be, but for the meantime, this sort of racing is really good, and it's really nice to see how I stack up against the real guys that do this 2K stuff, car and 2K Cup stuff. Yes.
Well, good job out there today, and best of luck for the future for sim racing and for real racing as well. Before we let you go, who do you want to give a shout out to?
I'm not sure. Maybe. Well, I guess for last week, Callum, he was despite the fact that he couldn't actually join me in the race, there was a technical glitch where he couldn't even join the team we were running. So that's why I only got through halfway, and I couldn't because he wasn't in. But, we were kind of going further, but I guess I could just say thanks to him for getting me into the 6 hour last week, and yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Good, thank you for joining us, and good luck.
Thank you.
And now standing by with Adam Linger, and we've got Sam Dunstall.
Yeah, Sam, you had a fairly eventful race early on in this race, but then it seemed like pretty smooth sailing for you after you got into that 5th position. Talk us through your race today.
Yeah, so that second race kind of didn't go the way I was hoping. Didn't clear those guys as fast as I wanted to, but that's okay. The first lap we had an incident with Sabo. it was kind of, I watched the replay afterwards, but it looked like a little bit of net code as well. But that kind of landed us with damage from the outset. So we didn't have the straight line when we were on our own to kind of pull them in. But yeah, big congrats to the guys that were in that front pack. They were battling hard and kept it up there.
It definitely looked like a very tough race to try and reload those guys up ahead of you. But what was it that allowed you to pull away from the guys behind you? Was it your pace through the Mackett's and Beckett sequence, or where do you think you had the edge on them?
Yeah, I think I could get the edge in like you say, Maggots and Beckett's, and also in the final complex. The kind of the twisty bits was where I could hold my own. In regards to, I think we were lacking the straight line speed. So just put the visor down kind of thing and eyes forward and tried to pump out as many good laps as I could. I actually tried to stay in touch with those guys in front, but to keep my pace up. But yeah.
And so, as we look to the future, can we look forward to seeing you in the next couple of mini-series they're doing in the future?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'll be around. It's an awesome event that these guys put on. It's great racing every week. So I'll be around. Yeah.
All right, Sam, is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go today?
Big thank you to the whole series, all the sponsors behind the series as well. Put in a massive effort, especially James Watson. I know he has, to organise it all. Great racing every week. Team DMW Trailers, they've been on my car in the Racing Local campaign, and they've kind of been there for me, so that's really cool. And lastly, to Dad again for all those help he does in the real car. So yeah, thank you. And thank you guys as well.
Awesome. That was Samuel Dunstall, who came home in 5th today in our final race of the day. And looks like Ryan Jones has caught up with our winner today, Liam Lawson.
You know, I think that might be the hardest you've had to work for a race win in this series, Liam.
Yeah, it was definitely a pretty tough one. The first one was very close. I think this track really suited close racing. There was like two and a half quite long straights. So until you sort of got over 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds out in front, it was only when you started to break the toe. Otherwise, it was really hard to break away. So the first race, I got a little bit lucky when the guys started fighting, and I was able to break the toe. But the second race, obviously, was a different story. It was pretty intense with Matt. Just the tiny mistake for him on the last lap cost him the race and made the opportunity for me to go around him.
He did a very good job of it. So that last lap was obviously, how far forward were you thinking in terms of that final lap? Knowing how close it was, were you trying to make sure you weren't leading heading into that last lap?
Yeah, I think sort of halfway through the race, there was 4 of us fighting, and I wasn't really keen on letting a massive train of cars catch up. So I sat in behind Matt for a while. He had good pace. So I just sat there waiting for the last couple of laps at least. And I think Jaden did as well. So we both kind of were waiting a little bit to the ends. Matt was sort of in the unlucky position where there was not a lot he could do. And then he got the most perfect toe at the most perfect timing from a lapped car on the last lap, which meant we couldn't actually get him where we wanted to. And then, yeah, the small mistake unfortunately cost it for him.
I said at one point, you've probably raced here in real life, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. I've raced. So basically, I've done a test in the old Formula 3 car, and then I raced FIA3 here last year with Formula 1.
That's where you got one of your podiums, actually, wasn't it? Silverstone? Yes.
Yeah, it was the first podium for us. It was the first really good weekend where we started to make progress last year. And the track, I mean, I really, really like the track. The new layouts, the Grand Prix circuit is really, really cool. It's something that I've done a lot of sim driving around, and in real life, it's a cool place, and the atmosphere as well at the event is really cool. So it was cool to race around at least the old layout of this track for tonight.
Obviously, half of the layout, I'd say, is the same between old and new. How hard is it to those braking markers and turning points that are burned into your brain from F3? How hard is it to sort of get rid of those when you come here on an MX5 on the sim?
Yeah, it is very weird. It's a lot different. And my outlap, I honestly fight it straight off through Maggots and Beckett's because I literally I just had no grip, and it took me a long time to get my head around it. Also, I think the track was quite hot, so there was a lot of oversteer. So the cars are honestly just driving on the nose the whole time, and it was really really like that the whole time. And obviously, as the tires go off, it made it even worse. But I think for racing and close racing and stuff, it was awesome. It was a perfect track for it.
Certainly was. It was a great show for us up here in the booth, and great for you to pick up another 2 race wins in this series. Looking forward, obviously, it might be a little bit longer for you to hit the track, but sim racing continues with 2K Cup. I'm sure we'll probably see you back next season. Before we let you go, who do you want to give a shout out to?
No one in particular. Thanks to you guys, actually, and thanks for 2K Cup for making it possible. Because as I said last time, it's cool for us to be able to race, at least race when we're not racing in real life, and race against guys that we never get to race against in real life. I think obviously Shane couldn't make it tonight, but I'm pretty sure he's done pretty much every single other event, which is really really cool. So thanks to him, and thanks to the other guys for doing the other ones. I'm looking forward to season 2.
Thank you for joining us, and best of luck moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And we got one last interview, Adam. We're going to have a chat to our series organizer, and as it would happen, championship leader and winner, James Watson.
Hey guys, cheers for that. Yeah, it's been great. Winning the championship, hasn't it?
Adam.
Yeah, James, it was great seeing you race today, and what a fantastic event you've put on, and what a fantastic series you put on here as well with these 2 races and such tight racing and such close battles we've seen all season from your guys. It's awesome. What were your thoughts on this final session?
Well, yeah, it's been a really tight series. The racing's been really tough just due to the size of the grids, and at the end of it, I think my score just reflects the lack of crashing I've been in. There's been a lot of damage control, and even in that last race, I've had a big shunt in the side going into one of the corners there, and I just had to focus on lapping and finishing the race and not bleeding too many points. So my thoughts are I'm stoked that I've come away with the win, but at the same time, some people are probably not so stoked because they've been in a fair few more crashes than I have.
In terms of, you've got some more seasons coming up, 2 mini seasons rather, for the 2K Cup, 3 rounds each. Reasoning behind that, and prospects, looking forward to it?
Yeah, obviously we've been in New Zealand. We've been in lockdown the last couple of months, so that's what our season lasted. But as we move on back to normal life, we've decided to make a shorter format, but that's a format that will also fit between our real world racing. So hopefully the Store Right 2K Cup will be back up and running this summer, and these mini seasons will fit nicely between it.
And of course, we'll be covering those season finales here on GSRC, and another big endurance event being announced as well.
Yeah, we're going to head to Spa in early August. So the seasons are about a month long. So over the next 2 months, or we've got a bit of break until June. So we've got June, July as 2 seasons, and then Spa in August, where we're back there with the Porsche. So it'll be another big grid of probably 50 or so teams taking to that 6-hour challenge.
We're looking forward to covering that one as well. Just lastly, before we let you go, just who are all the people that helped put this together and the sponsors that got behind it, and everyone you want to thank?
Yeah, cheers for that. Firstly, probably thank Mark Mallard for the help, for the effort he puts in to get this thing going, and he's the one that lines up our sponsors like Store Right Logistics, who are a freighting company, as well as IQ Security, who do your security products. And we've also got other sponsors like Creme Insurance, which Mark Mallard doesn't try to push too hard, but he does do insurance. And then we've got others like Pack and Save. We've got so many brands that like to associate with the 2K Cup brand, and it's really humbling.
Thank you, and hey, good job with that championship win. You said it was all down to those qualifying performances where you qualified 10th, which you still insist were planned, but how planned were they really?
Look, it's just where it ended up in the wash. I've been pretty lucky, but every week I've lodged a few points in qualifying and then some solid performances in either race, and that's what's added up to the championship win.
Congratulations. Go celebrate. Go celebrate a great season overall as 2K Cup as an organisation, and go celebrate your personal victories. Thank you.
Cool. Cheers, guys.
Well, with that, Adam, I think looking forward, what are your final thoughts on tonight?
It was a very tight race for the lead, very tight races all over the track, and that was in both of our sessions that we had. It was fantastic seeing both splits be so competitive. It was awesome seeing such close and really clean racing for most of the time around these tracks. I mean, like, this is exactly why we come out to watch auto racing at the end of the day, and so these guys put on a great show tonight.
They certainly did. So thank you to Storite Logistics, Crim Insurance, IQ Security, James Watson and Mark Mallard, all the guys behind the scenes at 2K Cup for bringing this to you. And of course, the broadcast, proudly sponsored by them, but wouldn't happen without all the companies that provide those software and hardware products for us, as well as our music, which is provided by June Londe. You can see all of their websites up on the screen. All the upcoming races for GSRC are up on your screen now, including other events across both our channel and the iRacing Esports Network, including the IMSA iRacing Challenge Series, sport category to the IMSA iRacing Invitational events. If you want to find us on social media, you can do it at GSR Channel on Twitter, Facebook at Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget to hit subscribe to us on YouTube as well, so you don't miss any of our action. Thanks to the team with me today, Sean and Adam Lindgren, from all of us up here in the booth. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.